an owner who had a last name fans despised, hiring a coach that the experts thought was crazy,
But I got a plan, I swear to you.
who traded for a QB that was said to be washed up. They said the Detroit Lions would never amount to anything, that it would always be the same old Lions. But this team, our team, has a new identity, defined and expressed by the crazy head coach,
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes, I will beat your ass.
led by the QB that nobody thought was good. Motor City Mania is in full swing and ready to start. So join the show and be prepared for kneecap biting, because Motor City Mania starts right now. All right, welcome everybody to the post-game reaction show of the Lions' dominating victory over the Carolina Panthers, 42-24. Pardon me. With me tonight, I've already got DC 8019. I've got Jay Vincent. I've got Smoking Jeremy B, and I've got Big West Kivden. We should be getting a couple more coming in. As they straggle in, we'll allow them in. But as always, thank you all for joining the show. And just want to ask everybody, how y'all feeling after that ass stomping that we gave to the Panthers?
Not too bad.
Other than going to that damn soft zone coverage in the second half and allowing Bryce Young to actually look almost legitimate in the second half, I was fine with it.
Yeah, that is true. Our defense really kind of let off the gas there around the end of the third, start of the fourth. But, oh well, c'est la vie. Anyway, as always, as we get comments, questions, we'll address those. Obviously, we have our topics for tonight. We've already got a couple of comments in here. Elizabeth Oberlin says, "What a great day in the den. Ford Field was hopping." Hi, guys. It was hopping. Hell, the defense couldn't even hear themselves think when they were on the field.
That was after we started getting the sacks. They got so loud that even the defense was having issues.
Yeah, we almost got a safety there at the end, but they kind of ruled it down at the half-yard line.
And it was. He was.
It was.
His feet was outside.
Yeah, it was the right call.
But, oh well, c'est la vie. It would have been nice to get a safety, though. But our defense did pretty well overall, so I'm not going to cry over it. As always, we'll start the show. So, we'll start off, as always, with the basic questions here. We'll go around the room. So, DC is up first in the docket, so here we are. What were the biggest winners from this dominating win that the Lions had over the Panthers? What do you think? Who were the biggest winners?
First one comes to mind is Hutch. Second, JG. Third is my fellow long-hair redneck, Alex Angelo. He was awesome today.
All right, fair enough. Jay, what about you? Who are the biggest winners in your opinion from the Lions win over the Panthers?
I think it was Hutch, Anzalone. I think Montgomery did really well, especially with that breakout of that 62 or 72-yard run out the gate. Jared Goff played really well, no turnovers.
All right, pretty good. I'll go with it. What about you, Jeremy? Who do you think was the biggest winners from today's game for the Lions?
Josh Reynolds. Everybody has been not really saying a lot about him, and he showed out today. Goff in general had a great game. Hutchinson, what can you say? He's got a sack and a pick, and it was funny because the intentional grounding, because of that penalty, that took away a Romeo Okwara sack, a rare instance in these days.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of players that did really well. But you are absolutely right. Plus, on top of that, Hutch getting another interception. I mean, he's now got 4 in his career, which is more than some cornerbacks have. But we'll get to that a little bit later. What about you, Wes? What do you think? Who are the biggest winners for the Lions from this game for you?
Well, obviously, the obvious ones like Hutch and Laporta and Montgomery, but I like to mention guys that everyone doesn't mention, like Jeremy did there. How about Jerry Ballhawk Jacobs gets another
Damn right.
And like Craig Reynolds gets his first ever Lions touchdown. I mean, I like to see those guys get in there and get something done. That was awesome.
Oh, that was his first touchdown?
Yeah, he didn't have any. He didn't have any last year.
He put that on Twitter today, which is not he got from that free press right there.
But I agree with you, Wes. I mean, you guys all make valid points. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, sack, interception. Sam Laporta, 2 receiving touchdowns. Jared Goff, 4 total touchdowns. David Montgomery still looking like a damn beast. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of guys you can throw in there. Jerry Jacobs now having 3 interceptions on the year. They're all doing extremely, extremely well. So
I want to answer something here. Wayne Shirk said. He said, "Did Jameson shrink in fear today? He did block well." That's just it. Most of his snaps in were running plays. He was only targeted 3 times. He had 2 catches. I don't know what else you could want from him. I mean, he did have the 1 drop, but he was targeted after that and still made a catch. And then the screenplay, I think it counted as rushing yards, didn't it?
No, because they only have 3 guys on ESPN that are for rushes, and that's Goff, Reynolds, and Montgomery. They counted it as receiving yards.
Okay. But still, 2 out of 3.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be entirely fair about this. Let's be honest. I mean, freaking Campbell himself said, listen, we're not going to rush him back. We're not going to overload his plate. We're just going to have him go out there, run a couple plays, get kind of his feet back underneath him, and that's it. And the fact that, Jamo went out there and he made some really key blocks down the field for run blocks. I mean, that's what you need from him. Again,
he had the biggest one on that block on Montgomery, or that linebacker was going to have him dead to rights.
Oh, I know it. And again, it goes back to what Jamo said about the whole process in the beginning. No block, no rock. It's like, listen, you've got to go out there. You got to block. I mean, for crying out loud, Marvin Jones should have remembered that on the screenplay because he didn't help out Jamo at all on that one.
Yeah,
Marvin Jones completely missed that block.
But he did make up for it later on another play. He knocked the shit out of somebody.
Well, the fact that freaking Marvin Jones actually caught the 2 balls that were thrown his way, I'm happy with.
Yep.
So I'll go with that.
I'll give him a golf clap.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there were a lot of guys that played really, really well. The coaching staff, I thought, for the most part, did a really good job. There were a couple of blips here and there that kind of irked me a little bit, but for the most part, I can't really complain. Speaking of which, we'll just look at the other side of this. So, DC was up first. We'll go with West this time. So, were there any losers for the Lions in this game against the Panthers? And if so, who were they in your opinions?
Well, I think the biggest loser for us is every third quarter we can't score a fucking point. What is going on? We just stall in the third quarter. We don't make the right adjustments, or we just go flat, and then we pick it up again in the fourth. But that's like almost every game this happens. We're doing well at halftime, and we have a letdown.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Johnson has acknowledged it. Dan Campbell's acknowledged it. Jared Goff has acknowledged it. They all know the problem's there, but they still can't seem to fix it. But, oh well, whatever. What about you, Jeremy? Do you think there were any losers from this game for the Lions? What do you think?
Well, the biggest loser to me is the guy that's never sniffed the field, Broderick Martin.
I was about to say, 5
if you
games
want a guy,
hasn't even played.
If you want a player to develop, he needs to be on the field. And you can say the third quarter wasn't our friend, but this by far was our best third quarter overall. We didn't give up a single score in it. We held them back. We forced them to punt. Unfortunately, we went vanilla and went 3 straight passes on the first drive we had after the kickoff, which made no sense to me. You have a 14 to whatever lead, and you're going to sit there and just pass 90 or 28 to whatever, and not and go pass. That made no sense.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you. I mean, we could have kept throwing it. They were loading up the box to stop us running it to kill the clock. Keep throwing it. Who cares if
we did? No, what I'm saying is we did pass. We should have mixed something in to set up the pass again, because we run to set up the pass, not pass to set up the run.
I think part of the problem with what you guys are talking to and alluding to is, and we saw this later on, is that the Lions were trying their damnedest not to overload Montgomery's workload because he was already getting high up there in the rushes, which is why they were starting to mix in Zonovan Knight. And then when he got injured, that's when they mixed in Reynolds. They were trying to limit him from getting like 30 fucking touches. But at the same time, it's like, listen, if the running game's working the way it is, because, I mean, hell, Montgomery ended the game with 5.7 a pop. Keep running the damn ball. It works.
Great. 42-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, exactly. But, all right, Jay, what about you? What were some do you have any, losers from this game? Do you have any that you thought of?
Yeah, I don't know if it was like I love Dan Campbell and I love his aggressiveness, but I don't know if it was him who jumped the play on that challenge flag or somebody up in the box office telling him to throw them flags. I just think they need to be more careful with them challenge flags, especially when we get into the playoffs, just because you never know when you may need one, and then that third challenge, you never know when you're going to need it. And then, like, when he goes for it on fourth down and gave the Panthers 3 points, like, I just feel like he needs to know when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive. Like, I love him as a coach. I just want him to figure out what he's doing with that aggressiveness. Like, 1 minute he shows it, the next minute he doesn't. And I just don't feel like that's a really great idea.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were there. I mean, I watched that play over and over and over again. I'm like, dude, from the replay, it's clear as day that freaking it was a catch. And I don't know what prompted Campbell to throw that flag, who told him to throw it, or if he just thought it was good, but that was one of the worst decisions from the whole game. Thankfully, that was about the only really bad decision.
Maybe somebody else told him to throw it. I don't know, but yeah, we saw the replay on TV that he shouldn't have thrown it for sure.
Yeah. All right. What do you think, DC? Do you have any losers from this game for the Lions or no?
I'd say Will Harris.
Actually, Will Harris played really well.
I was about to say, Will Harris actually made some pretty decent plays. He got that one pass break up in the end zone on that one throw.
Yeah, that was huge.
One of his better games. I mean, I just had to fuck with Jeremy and the announcer at the same time. I couldn't resist doing that. But no, I think other than I just say the goddamn officials for that 2 bullshit penalties on Young. I mean, that's just protecting the league.
You're talking about the unnecessary roughness calls on Charles Harris and Alex Anzalone.
Yeah, that was utter horse shit. Or that, I mean, anyone who did something bad, everyone who dropped a pass, they made right up for it. So,
fair enough. I mean, that was one part. I think it was, what was it? I think it was either at the start of the third quarter or at the end of the second quarter. There was a whole drive in there where 4 different receivers dropped passes. Laporta dropped a pass. Reynolds dropped a pass. And it was just like, dude, what the hell's going on here? Because up to that point, Goff was perfect. And then those 4 passes go by. He goes from 7 of 7 to 7 of 11, and we're punting the football away. I'm like, okay, this is a little problematic. But I'm going to be honest with you. I got a different loser from tonight's game. And it's not a loser in the sense that the guy performed well. It's just I think he can't catch a break. And that's Emmanuel Mosley, because very first game he comes back and he tweaks a knee, and he's just coming back from an ACL injury. And we initially hear that he's questionable to return, and then they downgrade him out. And we don't know what the injury is. Maybe they're just being cautious and they didn't want to risk it getting worse, like with Brian Branch. But it's like, listen, he tears his ACL at the very beginning of last year. He's worked his entire ass off to try and get back to this point. And the very first game he comes back, a few plays in, he already is injured again. And it's like, dude, that just fucking sucks. Because we sank $4.5 million into him to come in and play for us. And so far, we haven't really got anything out of the investment. So that's why I say he's the biggest loser, not because he played well. It's just he can't catch a damn break. So
well, hopefully it's not serious. It looked to me like half of it's mental. When you have an injury like that, he tweaked a little bit, and I think he just overreacted. He looked like he was walking on it pretty good in the sideline. I think it just took him out to be cautious.
I think so too. And I mean, oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
The knee's been healthy since right around preseason. It was during rehab. He tweaked his hammy. So instead of risking an injury that'll take him out the rest of the season, they just rested him. It was a precautionary move. It was the same as when the one guy went down, or Montgomery went down there for a little bit in the second quarter, and they pulled him out and sat him for a minute. You know, it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, to be entirely fair, the Lions have shown pretty much the entirety of this year they're going to be cautious with injuries, because I'm pretty sure St. Brown could have played today. They just decided they weren't going to do it. And Campbell even said that it was kind of at the last minute that they were like, listen, with Gibbs, he could have played, but we didn't want to risk it. We wanted to have the healthy player out there. They're not going to risk long-term injuries for something that might only keep a player out maybe 1 week, and then, hey, you know what? They're back the next week ready to rock and roll. Which, hey, you know what? If you're going to win games like this, I'm fine with that decision because it means that without our star players, we can still go out there and hand people's asses to them.
Hey, I got a question. Did Josh Allen throw a touchdown pass today?
I don't remember.
Because if so,
I
he's
was
back
doing
to
the
being the
ball.
leader, the touchdown leader in the NFL.
Oh, I
Justin
know,
Fields
because
already
Bears
played his
fans
fifth
were
game.
going nuts about the fact that Justin
Did he
Fields,
throw
he's
one
the
to Diggs?
passing touchdown leader. He's got 11 passing touchdowns. It's like, shut the hell up.
And one
Didn't
win,
he throw
kiss
one
my
to
ass.
Diggs he threw one to somebody. I think he had one.
Yeah, it was the Diggs.
Yeah, I thought.
Speaking of that, Diggs, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because this actually just came across the wire not that long ago for the Vikings that Diggs used to play for. Justin Jefferson now has a hamstring injury, which that's going to fuck with the fucking Vikings bad because if he can't play even at full strength, that's going to limit their offense.
Well, they have
Limited.
TJ.
But let's take a look at some of these comments here really quickly. Sepatown says JMO's practically a rookie. Treat him as such. Facebook
Amen.
user says JMO can block. That's a positive. JMO says that Keitho says JMO's scared to get hit. Dude, any wide receiver is scared to get hit over the middle. Hell, there's been a lot of times that a lot of the top wide receivers get alligator arms because they know they're about to get popped. Over the middle is one of the most dangerous propositions for wide receivers. So it's not just JMO. Mad Widget says, what was Campbell supposed to say? Yeah, he dropped a touchdown. He has more drops than catches in his career. Okay, but this is the same argument we heard about when Jared Goff supposedly was a bum and about how the coaches were not going to say anything bad about the quarterback. So would you like to rephrase your thinking there really quickly?
I think he said he's not saying the coaches are saying that. He's saying they shouldn't say that because he said he's a rookie and treat him as such. It was the same guy.
Oh, okay. My bad. I read that backwards because I was thinking he was attacking Jim. I'm like, wait a minute here. Hold on. You can't go after a guy that hasn't really practiced most of this offseason, and on top of that, only played 6 games last year. That to me makes no sense. Lawrence Dalvincia, so thank you for clearing that up, Jeremy. And my apologies, Mad Widget. Lawrence Dalvincia says, according to ESPN, Broncos are in selling mode. Teams are calling Cortland Sutton. Depending upon the price, maybe, but I don't think the Broncos are going to sell him cheap.
Unless it's going to be like a Chase Claypool deal. I don't want to make a deal for anybody because, the draft is in Detroit next year, people.
Exactly. Yep. And the more draft picks we have, the more time we get. And I like that. Again, there's a reason why the Lions are getting as much recognition as they are. Let's make sure we enjoy it while we have it. Keitho says, agree with Big West. Third quarter isn't our friend right now. He also says, finally, Marvin Jones got some catches. He actually made some decent catches, so I'm not going to, again, get too crying about that, but it was nice to see him actually get some production rather than drops. Elizabeth Oberlin says, I think they need to work on their third down conversions. They do. Let's see here. Keitho agrees. Yeah, he's referring to Mosley, can't catch a break. Brian Kimmel says 4-1, go Lions. Broken Magazine says, am I the only one that was hoping to see Matt put Jalen in the dirt for the betterment of the NFC? No, I wanted to see the Rams win too, but unfortunately, the Rams didn't have the ability to win. They lost 23-14 just a few minutes ago.
Good job, McVay.
Well, it looks like there's problems between McVay and Stafford because at the end of the game there, Stafford and McVay were not happy. Which, go figure.
Wait. Every time something goes wrong, McVay has a problem with his quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah, he had a problem with Goff, got rid of him, and we've already seen it a couple times with Stafford there. He's gone after him.
Except for the Super Bowl year. Yeah, and he still went after him twice that year, if I remember right, late in the season when Stafford became the fourth quarter pick 6 guy for a minute.
Yeah. Braylon Dennis comes in and says 4-1, baby. Broken Magazine says, question for the room. How are we feeling about going into Tampa next week? That is a question we have later in the show, but we will get to that. Facebook user says, I think it's time to give Goff his new contract another game where he played on an elite level. I mean, I actually already took a look at the stats. Goff right now has a 100+ passer rating, a 70+ QBR rating according to ESPN, 9 passing touchdowns, over 70 completion percentage rate. I mean, he's playing at a top 5 level right now, according to the stats and at least what we're seeing on the tape.
And with an incredible run game.
Well, that's helping out a lot. Patty Grimes says J-Mo is the next Eric Ebron. I don't know if I go that far. He hasn't
Can't
had a
give up
chance
on
to
the
really
big guy.
play.
22. Give me a chance.
I was about to say, let's hold off here again. Dan Campbell is saying, let's give him a couple of weeks before we start really judging him. It's the same thing we went through the very first year. We have to wait for these players to get into a rhythm and accustomed with the offense. Broken Magazine asks, who's in hotter water with their injury today, Kelsey or Jefferson?
Kelsey's back on the field.
Well, that's true. But if Kelsey goes down, the Chiefs are in dire straits because they don't really have anybody else outside of Kelsey, really.
Actually, they all started catching better after that Lions game. And it's the same thing that happens every year since they got rid of Hill. The receivers look like bums. Kelsey shows out. Then they start to catch. Kelsey's carried so much of the workload. He gets overworked. That's why he gets these little injuries, but he doesn't really miss time.
That's true.
NFL's going to be hurting their sub drama.
Well, that's the biggest difference between Kelsey and Kittle is that Kelsey will get hit and he'll keep on coming. When Kittle gets hurt, that's it for him. He's out for like 2-3 weeks.
So if they get married, is it going to be Travis Swift? Because I doubt she changes her last name.
Or it could be Travis Swift Kelsey. She could put a hyphen in it. Or maybe she doesn't change it at all because some people don't change their names in marriage.
Right.
I mean, you never know.
I didn't watch the game. Did they show her up in the box? Like rebox it off? I'm so sick of that.
I don't know if they did or not because that game, I don't know if they did or not, to be honest. I didn't watch it. Didn't care.
That game even over yet?
I never said anything bad about J-Mo, Braylon. Okay.
He's talking about people in the comments because they keep dogging on J-Mo. And again, this is the same problem that Lions fans have had since when he got suspended because it was one damn thing after another. If it wasn't the suspension, it was the fact that he was in Vegas gambling, which was perfectly legal for him to do. Then it was the fucking fireworks. Then it was because he went to Coney Island in the bad part of Detroit. It's like, just let the young man live his life. Jeez Louise. It's like, we don't need to be his judge, jury, and executioner for everything he does or doesn't do.
In fact, people forget. I remember even Herman Moore's rookie year had the dropsies. He dropped a bunch of passes. Everyone thought he was a bust.
Then he got contacts.
You got to give the guy a chance.
Elizabeth Oberlin asked a question. She says, how are they getting to Goff? Was it any one person? More than anything, I think. Well, Brian Burns is their best pass rusher. But again, I think Jeremy kind of highlighted it earlier. When we went into that third quarter, when they really started getting after him, it was because we started becoming very vanilla in our approach, and the defense could start keying off on us a little bit. Once we started getting a little bit more, a little bit more squirrely and a little bit less unpredictable, then Jared Goff was fine again.
And Carolina is good at that, to be fair. That's their strong point. They can rush the passer.
Yeah, their defense is actually their strongest unit right now. Their offense can't do shit. Jason points out that the Vikings did just lose to Kansas City, so that's good to hear. So far, the Bears won this week. The Vikings have lost, and the Lions have won.
And Green Bay might lose. They play tonight or tomorrow? That's tomorrow night.
They play tomorrow night.
Yeah, they play on Monday Night Football against the Raiders.
They play against the Lost Wages.
The Raiders always win on Monday Night Football.
I know.
Plus, on top of that, the Raiders are going to have Garoppolo back. He's cleared concussion protocols, and he's ready to play.
It doesn't matter how shitty the Raiders are that year. They win on Monday night.
Yep. Broken Magazine says, where's Laporta in the tight end rankings after today? Well, he was number 1 to start the day, and I think...
And nobody's really showed out yet.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But I know this much. According to ESPN projections, he's about to have himself a really good year, and we'll talk about that later on. So, without further ado, let's move into our next topic of the day. Keto says cheese rats will lose tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Cheese rats. That's awesome. All right, here. So let's start now, and DC's up first. So here's the question. Some Lions fans thought this game could be a trap game for the Lions. Yet the Lions came in, they handled business in the best way possible. Have the Lions learned how to win the games they are supposed to? And the reason I'm asking that is because in the past, it used to be the Lions can't win the games they're supposed to win, and they always do win the games they're not supposed to win. So now I'm asking, have they figured out how to win the games they're supposed to win? What do you think?
Absolutely. Dan Campbell put that in their head that there's no games off, no easy opponents. Play every opponent like it's the last game, and play every opponent like they're the best. I'm not falling for trap games anymore.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Jay, what do you think? Do you think the Lions have finally learned how to win games they're supposed to win?
Yeah, I believe they did, just because like they all got that mindset, that gritty mindset, and then with the new villain thing going around, I think that they're getting that through their head. Like, let's play more aggressively. The fans are loving it. So,
All right, fair enough. What do you think, Jeremy? Do you think the Lions have finally learned how to win games they're supposed to win?
You know what? I don't care if we win ugly or if we blow somebody out. If it's a team we're supposed to beat, we should beat them. Last year, we let the Panthers off the hook. And I still say it's due to the equipment manager.
Yep.
We had cleats playing on a turf field. You're supposed to wear the turf shoes. So that's why it looked like they were ice skating out there. We're trying to tackle people. They couldn't get a footing. The second half, we held that team to 60 yards rushing. We kept them from scoring touchdowns, but they had such a big lead, it didn't matter anymore. So at that point, yeah, they've learned their lesson. They're not taking anybody lightly. They're doing it 1 week, one game at a time, one play at a time, one drive at a time. They've been hammering that home all off season. They haven't won anything yet. Isn't that what they said? So they want to win every game they face. The only two games that I still see as the biggest issue going forward is Baltimore and LA.
Yeah. I mean, Baltimore, I'm starting to get less and less concerned about, because after the loss today against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm not as concerned. I still say they're a problem. Again, the biggest three on my schedule that I've got problems for, as you said, Baltimore, LA, and the other one's Dallas. Those are the only three games that are on my schedule that I'm like, okay, I want to see how we do against those teams. But Baltimore's 2 weeks away. We'll get a viewing of that shortly enough. What do you think, Big West? Do you think the Lions have finally learned how to win games they're supposed to?
I think they have, because we're taking on the personality of our head coach. Carolina opened their front door, and guess what? We were on their fucking porch, just like he said. In years past, that wouldn't be the case. We'd read our press clippings and get all fucked up and blow it. Not anymore. It's the new Lions.
I believe you are correct. And I mean, the thing of it is, I mean, you guys have all been there. You guys saw all the years where people would just make all the things about the same old Lions, like they can't win the games they're supposed to, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, it is what it is from those times past. But it's like, listen, apart from the one game this year where everyone thought we were supposed to beat the Seahawks, the Lions have every single week come in, they've handled their business, they've made good plays, they haven't gotten too cocky, and they've done their job. And like you said, Wes, they're embodying the coach's identity, which is also going through the entirety of the team. Hey, we're a gritty team. We're a tough team. We are going to sock you in the mouth. We're not going to take you too lightly, and we are going to play with the identity of we're going to kick your ass, plain and simple. So I agree. I think the Lions have figured out how to finally win games that they're supposed to win. Now I want to see if they can also win games that they're not supposed to win. Because so far,
they're doing that too.
they have, but I want to see them do it like Jeremy said, against games like the Ravens, which I'm pretty sure we're going to open up as underdogs. The Chargers we might open up as underdogs. The Cowboys as underdogs. I want to see us go into those places, because here's the thing.
I'm not so sure we're underdogs against the Ravens now. Opposite Pittsburgh beat them today. We'll see. It's going to be close to a pick 'em.
Braylon tennis.
I despise Adam Thielen. If I was an NFL player, I would purposely injure him.
You don't have to. He'll get injured here within the next 2 weeks. Mid-season, he gets hurt every year.
Fucking Marvin Jones. He can still play. Give the guy some credit.
I was about to say, if Adam Thielen has one player that he needs to be mostly thankful for, it's fucking Bryce Young. Like, Bryce Young goes to him like almost 75% of the time whenever he drops back. That is his primary go-to weapon.
He's reliable.
Yeah, he's reliable. I grant you that. Let's take a look, see here. Elizabeth Oberlin says, we play them on Monday night, so let's prove them wrong, please. She's referring to the Raiders. Big Dan Davis pops in with a comment, says, Vikings just lost. Hope they enjoy the basement party with the Bears. Yep, that's definitely for sure. Braylon Dennis says, Laporta is undisputed the deal of the draft besides Branch. I think it's Branch 1A and Laporta's 1B.
Yep.
And say what you want, the trade back with the Cardinals was brilliant
Oh,
because
for sure.
those picks that we got are really the reason we got Gibbs, Laporta, and Branch. Because the Minnesota pick we traded back and got Hendon Hooker, and then got Antoine Green with the other pick we got in that trade.
And I'm going to just say this. I remember that draft very well. When we traded back, there were a lot of Lions fans that wanted to freaking have Holmes' head because they're like, why would you trade back when you got access to one of these top players right now? Take the talent. And it's like Holmes was playing long strategy because he knew if he wanted to go after those players like Branch, like Laporta, he was going to need those draft picks later on because we didn't have them right there.
Hey, in redraft, Laporta and Branch going to be number one picks.
Last draft. He was trading up, trading down, trading up, trading down. But, it's hard to remember exactly what he did, but it all worked out, didn't it?
Well, the way I've always looked at it is this. Freaking Brad Holmes is the master manipulator of the draft. That guy knows how to fucking draft, without a doubt. Brian Kimmel says trap games are an SOL mentality. There are only 2 games left on the schedule that I believe are 50-50, and I believe we've probably covered them. Braylon Dennis says trap games are so overrated. Facebook user says that's 3 games in a row that the Lions dominated from beginning to end. This is setting up to be a great season. I definitely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Keitho says Lions got 2 top 5 red zone plays, the beautiful flea flicker and the Hutchinson interception. The Hutchinson interception was fucking awesome. He freaking shoved that tight end out of the way and just grabbed the ball with one hand out of midair. Like, that's just awesome. Now, the only thing about that play I didn't like was the fucking hit that Hutchinson got at the very end of the play.
Oh, yeah, that was painful.
That was the only thing about that play I didn't like. Braylon Dennis says, we slammed the door right in the Panthers' face. We never let the door open. We just kicked it right in their face. Aaron Graves says, that was the first game I've attended in person since I was a kid, and it was beautiful.
Boy.
Braylon Dennis says, oh, never mind. We already went over that one. British QB Production says, I've watched the Ravens play. They aren't opening, and they aren't favorites, in his opinion. Well, we'll see what they say.
No,
yeah,
he said, if you'd watch. If you'd watch. I don't know. Again, the worst part about it is the media. Like, they have all these narratives like, oh, freaking, Lamar Jackson has all these weapons, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, Lamar Jackson still hasn't done shit with the weapons, even though they paid him.
And they're still out there starting corner. They're all pro corner.
SW Lion 16 says, great job turning the turnovers into touchdowns. Looks like Adam Thielen had the day. Not surprised with Will Harris out there. Just stay humble, Lions. I mean, Will Harris.
It wasn't Will Harris covering him.
No, it wasn't.
He was covering the slot receiver and the tight end and actually did really well. The guy that was covering him most of the day, it was switched off between Cam Sutton and Jerry Jacobs.
And on top of that,
it depends on the road he ran, yeah.
Well, plus on top of that, it's not like the cornerbacks could really do anything anyway. Most of the routes the freaking Panthers were running were quick out routes. It's like, that's hard to defend against unless you just try and jump the route, which if you do that, offenses can scheme against that and just do quick turn-up routes. So it's like you have to give up the underneath stuff rather than the downfield stuff, which I'll take that any day because it worked. Broken Magazine says, are there any division games anyone's worried about? No. I was potentially worried about the away game against the Vikings later in the season.
I still am. Because we have not won in U.S. Bank Stadium since Campbell's been here with Goff. That is a hurdle we have to get over. We've gotten over all the other ones.
Well, we'll see. That one we're going to have to wait for, though. That one's near the end of the year.
The Vikings might have given up and traded away half their team by then.
Who knows?
They can't afford any more dead cap hits.
No, they can't. The best way for the Vikings to move forward is just simply
wasting $17 million on TJ the BJ.
That's true.
TJ the BJ.
Well, the best thing for the Vikings to do, I'll be honest at this point, is simply not re-sign Cousins, start with a young quarterback, and go from there. British QB Production says, with the way this team is playing, if we keep it up, we could roll into the Cowboys game 14-1, 13-2. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's going to happen. It's possible. That's about as far as I'm going to go. Because, again, as we saw with this game, injuries can come in the way. You never know. Maybe you're just having a bad day. It happens, but it's possible. That's about as far as I'm going to go. Keitho says Hutchinson is 4th in the odds for Defensive Player of the Year. We will talk about that later as well. Chuck Osborne says, I'm so proud of our Lions. They were awesome today. Keitho says, we did miss Branch, though. Of course we missed Branch. Branch is a different kind of a player, but that's not to say that anybody else played bad without him out there. It's just different.
Not to mention CJ GJ.
Well, he's been gone for a couple of weeks, but I do feel that one as well.
But
Robin
you know what?
says,
We had no drop-off with Walker in the way he's tackling. What we
That's
do
true.
have a drop-off in is how Walker coverage is.
Robin's Nest thinks we go 6-0 in the division, which is possible. Braylon Dennis says, if Goff is not an MVP discussion, I'm boycotting the NFL awards. He deserves recognition. He's a dark horse candidate at this point. He's a dark horse candidate. That's about it.
He's 12th in odds right now to make it.
Again,
so they have a lot of people ahead of him.
Which makes sense because usually the MVP candidates are the most popular players in the NFL. And while Goff is popular in Detroit, outside of Detroit, not so much except maybe in LA.
And it's usually a quarterback.
Usually it's the best quarterback in the NFL, which at this point is Patrick Mahomes. So while he should deserve recognition, he's not going to get it. And even I'm willing to admit that one. Broken Magazine says, anyone ballsy enough to stake claim to a regular season record prediction? No.
I actually am. I said prior to the season, I said 11-6, and I'm sticking to it.
I got 13-4.
I'll go 12-5. That's where I'm thinking because, again, any given Sunday you can lose, and I'm pretty confident there will be a couple of games that are going to come out where we're not going to be expecting losses, and it's going to happen anyway.
I'm sticking with my 12-5 prediction.
Let me see if I read this right. Is that Suckeye in Michigan? Oh, that's Buckeye in Michigan. I'm sorry. I had to get a little closer.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying now. Trying to get there.
J-Mo had 2 catches on 3 targets.
That is correct. Braylon Dennis says Hutchinson should be the Defensive Player of the Year, plain and simple. If not, I'm boycotting the NFL awards as well. Hutchinson has a good
last year.
Hutchinson actually has a really good shot to make it if he keeps playing the way he is. He's got actually a really good shot to do it. Let's see here. Facebook user says, we beat the Cowboys in their home stadium and forced them to come to Ford Field in the playoffs. Now that would be fucking epic. That would be epic.
As long as Philadelphia keeps winning in the division, and as long as Dallas has that loss on their record, Philly will win the division. And more than likely, it will have to play either Dallas or whatever bum-ass team is beyond 4.
Yep. LDV Tennis once again asks about us potentially calling about Cortland Sutton. And again, I don't think we do that. Again, I don't see Brad Holmes making that decision because, again, Brad Holmes has always been of this mindset. If he makes trades for players, it's always low round draft capital. And Cortland Sutton is not going to go for a 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick.
He's actually been very underwhelming with Denver so far, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy either. So I'm kind of out on trading for players and wasting draft capital on players that don't stay on the field.
Yep. I would rather draft a wide receiver than trade for one. They cost too much when you trade for them.
Right, and we got to repay Amon-Ra this next season.
There's lots of guys we got to resign. Yeah, I'd rather we draft a guy. If we trade for somebody, it's going to be a gritty player that we can get cheap.
Yeah,
he's making calls to stir up the drama and stir up the pot. He's not going to pull the trigger. He's just going to, make the cost for somebody else higher.
Just doing his due diligence, making the calls.
And it's just like the exact same thing that happened with, the whole Trey Lance bullshit with the 49ers. Hey, listen, there's a player that becomes available. You do your due diligence. You do some research. See if it's something worth investing in. 9 times out of 10, it's not. You leave it alone. Let's see here. Keitho says that I do believe that we are going to be buyers, though, before the trade deadline. I mean, we could be, but again, I just don't see it happening because that's just not the way the Lions have built this roster.
It would have to be for somebody who's really gritty and fits our culture. Maybe the pass rush on the Raiders there.
And Big Dan
Crosby's
Davis says
the only
again,
one I could see that happening for, and that price tag is too much.
Yeah.
and Big Dan Davis says, I don't really see Holmes making any trades at the deadline this year, and I don't really see it happening either. Let's see here. SW Lion 16 says Goff is a good kid, along with being a very good leader, very understated, but very mentally tough.
Yep.
You have to be if you're going to play in Detroit. The media, as we saw the first 2 years, it can be brutal. It can be brutal, but he's hung in there.
When they ask
To the point that no one takes him seriously.
Well, Goff has. I don't know if y'all have seen this lately, but Goff has gotten a little bit more feisty with people.
Absolutely.
I loved what he said to Fitztragic last week.
I didn't know I was a poor man's anything. And what's funny is during the broadcast today, one of the broadcasters said that Jared Goff was actually a rich man's Matt Ryan, kind of like a parody off of what Fitzpatrick said anyway.
I think that was Johnson.
I might have been. Peter Jabatak 1 says, curious hypothetical question. Jalen Carter had 2 sacks a day. If we can do a redraft, would you rather have Jack Campbell or Jalen Carter?
You couldn't get Jack Campbell at 18 or Jalen Carter at 18. So the answer is Jack
Campbell. 10, Jalen Carter.
Well, the thing is if you draft Jalen Carter at that spot we had originally, you can't pull off the trades for everybody else. That trade sets everything else up. Because once we traded out with the Cardinals, that was what allowed Jalen Carter to go off the board so early. Without that trade, we don't get Laporta. We don't get Branch. We don't get anybody else. So realistically, it's like you better ask the question a different way. Do you want Jalen Carter or do you want Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, and all the rest of them that we got? I want everybody else.
In actuality, the 4th rounder that we got in that trade was traded up with a 7th rounder that we got from Philly to get Broderick Martin.
Broken Magazine.
Think we were going to draft Devin Witherspoon if Seattle didn't scoop him up right in front of us.
Right.
I really do. And then after that happened, we traded back and got 2 guys instead.
Mm-hmm.
Broken Magazine asks, what are the salary implications once we pay all these players coming up to the end of their contracts? That's a really deep-ended question that nobody's really going to know the answer to right now because, one, we don't know what the cap space is going to be next year. We don't know how much is going to totally roll over, but we're expecting it's probably about $15, $17 million. And then on top of that, you don't know how the contracts are going to be handed out anyway. If there's going to be a lot of bonus money, how they're going to front load it, back load it, whatever else. So there's really no way to know what the salary cap implications are going to be at this point.
The NFL doesn't have a hard cap. There's lots of ways around it. You can give a guy a big signing bonus spread it over 4 years. And actually, you can save cap space. You could give Goff a new contract, give him $42 million a year. But next year, he might only count 10 or 15 million against the cap. So you can keep kicking the can down the road. I mean, there's lots of ways to do it.
Here's the thing. We're eating 20 million in dead cap this year, and we're on the books for, I think, a little over 7 million already for next year. We don't have 17 million in cap space left. We have 6.9 after the signings we've done.
Okay, so about 7 million.
So we're not rolling over anywhere near as much as everybody thought. They're saying it without re-signing anyone, we have 78 million next year. Is what they're saying.
That's still a pretty decent amount of money.
It's a decent amount. Goff's cap hit next year is 35 million. Remember that. So at 35 million, he's less than 20% of the salary. You extend him before next season. I think you extend him in season. That way it starts the year after. Don't even mess with it. Don't change anything. Because what if he wants more money for next year?
I've always said that if the Lions were going to extend Goff in season, it's going to be in the bye week. Because you take care of business then. There's no games going on. You can take care of in-house business and get it over with. And then just move on with the rest of the year. The only other time they're going to do it is in the offseason. That's the only other time I see them taking care of it. But we'll see what happens. Let's see here. Brent says Rams were shopping Stafford. Yeah, because of his contract. That's why they were shopping him. But nobody wants to pay the money that he's worth right now.
He's getting 44 million a year, I think, or 42 or something like that.
Next year is over 50.
I've seen a rumor that Jamar Chase wants out of Cincinnati.
It's not true.
Jamar Chase is not going to leave Joe Burrow. Those two are like thicker than water. Like those guys want to stick together as much as possible. They are fluid. The only way that Jamar Chase leaves is if Joe Burrow leaves. That's it.
And he's the highest paid quarterback now, isn't he?
He's one of them. Broken Magazine says, who does everyone think is winning their divisions in the AFC? I mean, Jiminy Crickets. I got to actually take a look at that to understand that one.
I still think it's KC in the West. Until somebody unseats them, I'm not changing that. In the East, it's going to come down to the Dolphins and Bills because everybody else is going back and forth.
The AFC South, I think it's still the Jaguars division to win. AFC North, I think it's going to come down to either the Steelers or the Browns, to be entirely honest, because while the Bengals did win today, I'm still not sold on them because they're playing so slow.
And I wouldn't count out the Ravens there either.
Well, plus on top of that, the Browns have a damn good defense this year, so we'll see what happens there. But, all right, let's kind of get off this and let's move into our next topic here. So Big West will be up first. So here we go. This is a nice historical question base here. The Lions offense scored 3 passing touchdowns and rushing touchdowns for the first time in a game since 1962. Has the Lions offense reached its maximum potential, or is there even more room for growth in your opinion?
It's not even close. We haven't really been 100% healthy yet. Once we get JMO going, sooner or later, he will get his confidence to start catching the ball. He just got to double the reps on that jugs machine he caught. Like today, if he'd have caught that one, nobody probably would have caught him. He'd have been gone. But he tried to run before he caught the ball. It was right in his hands. But yeah, I mean, we're going to get back our Gibbs, and Demo is running wild right now. I mean, the Florida's just getting better every game. I mean, the sky's the limit for our offense and our defense. Just think, come playoff time, we'll have CJ, GJ back maybe, and everybody else healthy. Like we got a solid team. There's no stopping us. There's no stopping this offense.
Fair enough. Good point, Wes. I like it. What do you think, Jeremy? Do you think this offense has reached its max potential, or there's even more room for growth?
We haven't seen everybody on the field at the same time, like Wes said. We've been unhealthy at one point or another, at one position or another, every game. Yet we're 4-1. Is there any reason to expect it to get worse?
Well, to further add on to your point, Jeremy, we're 4-1, and in 3 out of the 5 games that we've played, we've scored 30 points or more, and we just put up our first 40 burger, mind you. So just keep that in mind.
Hey, you know what's nice about us putting up a 40 burger? This time it was us winning the game and not coming up a field goal short.
That's true. All right, Jay, what do you think? Do you think this Lions offense has reached its max potential, or do you think there's still room for growth?
I agree with what DC said, because we haven't even seen everybody on the field. You haven't really been able to see what JMO can do. You haven't had Amon St. Brown out there with JMO and Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, they don't even know what they're doing with Jahmyr Gibbs yet. He's like one of the fastest people on that team. You get all them guys out there at one time, Goff could be lighting that up to be throwing 70 points on the board. Like, there's no stopping. Like they said, there's no stopping this offense. If we got everybody healthy, if we didn't have to worry about no injuries, there's no reason why we would not be 5-0 right now. Throwing up 40 burgers every single time, maybe 50.
All right. DC, I'm pretty confident I know what your answer will be, but what are your thoughts?
Well, as you guys said, if all pieces were in place, everything's rolling, there's no reason this team could not put up 50. I just don't think that it's in Campbell's MO to start stacking up the points. He'd rather play conservative and rather be respectful and not just sit there and be like, hey, we're up by 30. Let's try a double free fake reverse trick play and tack on another 80 yards. So we might not see the stats that we're capable of, but boy, howdy, this offense is goddamn awesome.
All right, so everyone seems to have, the same mindset of, okay, this offense hasn't reached its full potential. So let me ask the question a different way here. If you were to try and, quantize it or, give it a quantity number, how far do you think this Lions offensive potential has reached? Do you think it's 65, 70, 75%? Like, how much of the max potential have we realistically seen so far?
45.
Anybody answer?
45.
45% from DC. Okay.
I think we've seen 70% of its potential accurately as an accurate amount because we've been about 30% injured every game. Or
All
somebody
right.
was on suspension.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think we're probably around that 65, 75% because realistically, like Jeremy has said, we've dealt with injuries to the offensive line. We've had players out due to suspension and players here or there that have been out due to injury. So, I mean, and on top of that, we're not even in mid-season form yet. Like, we're still kind of working out the kinks here a little bit. So, I think we're kind of around that 70, 75% range, to be entirely honest myself. But, all right, here, let's take a look at some of these comments here. Braylon Dennis says he thinks there's way more growth. He says we have so much more potential for our offense to thrive. Phil says Lions potentially are the best team in the league. Ooh, I don't know if I go that far. Like, they're definitely up there, but I don't know if they're potentially the best team. Like, the freaking – you still got to go through – you still got to talk about the 49ers. You still got to talk about the Eagles. The Bills are no slouch. I mean, there's some teams out there that we definitely are going to have to deal with. Keto thinks definitely more growth. SW Lion 16 says the Lions offense is just scratching the surface. There's still room to be better. LDV Tennis says not many throws outside the numbers. Well, to be fair, the Lions do a lot of their attacking in the middle of the field. Perry Ball says, I want to see our offense at full strength, healthy O-line, healthy Sun God and Gibbs. You might get the Sun God and Gibbs, but the O-line, you're gonna have a problem getting that one.
Not really. Big V was almost about ready to play, I thought, this week, and then they made him out on Thursday because he was practicing.
Well, I'm referring more to the problem with Taylor Decker. Like, even though he'll play, he's not fully 100% because of whatever the Thunder, they call it a high ankle sprain or something else. He's like been dealing with that for the last 2 weeks now. Chuck Osborne says, I believe there's more growth in the team. Patty Grimes says Lions offense hasn't played in the third quarter, so they can definitely improve. Lyle Shull says, let's not think about salary yet. That's a way off, and we're winning. That's all that matters. Phil says, who's the biggest threat on the Lions' remaining schedule? Ravens, Chargers, Cowboys, in that order. T says that reverse flea flicker was beautiful. That was a thing of beauty. That was art. That was art in motion.
Wasn't that technically a double flea flicker the way they did it?
Kind of, yeah, because they handed the ball off to the running back, who then gave it to the receiver, who then flipped it back to Goff, who then threw it down the field. So, yeah, that was like a double flea flicker. Yeah.
Yep.
Like
That's what
4 or
I mean.
5
They seem to
people
put up
touched the
50
ball
every
on
game.
that whole play.
And it all happened in about 3 seconds.
That's what you call damn good execution.
Yeah.
Yoop says we punted twice with 2 key pieces in street clothes and 1 dude who leaves vapor trails being used stupidly. The only thing that keeps us from 50 is MCDC's class and not running up the scores. Rodney Fouch says they haven't even cracked the playbook open yet. He says it's only 50. Yep. T says 82%. If Jamel's deep ball works out, geez, that's the last piece of the puzzle. Peter Jabatek says Jared Goff, I think, is only going to get better and better, so way more growth. Broken Magazine says, are any of this week's injuries concerning going into next week? Not really.
I
think
Branch was held out when he was limited practice all week. They made him sit out because they didn't want him to aggravate a low ankle sprain into a high ankle sprain. A low ankle sprain, it's way different. I mean, you're talking to a guy that severed his Achilles tendon, so I know what all that shit feels like.
I mean, the only injury that has kind of got me a little worried, a little concerned is Gibbs' hamstring. That's about it. That's about the only one that's kind of got me a little bit concerned.
I don't even think that was that serious.
Mosley,
but you know what? Why waste getting them injured against Carolina? We're going to beat them anyways. I like the approach they're taking.
LEV Tennis, you are rotten. LEV Tennis says, what happened to Giants guy? Did he go down with Daniel Jones?
I think he went down on Daniel Jones.
Either way, Giants guy completely has disappeared. Phil says that he thinks Emmanuel Mosley concerns him. We don't know how bad that is yet, but it doesn't look as bad as some people are concerning it with.
Yeah, I might have to send this to you, David.
I don't think he re-injured it badly.
And then put it up, and I'm going to tell you in the comments what it says.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
This ought to be interesting.
Yeah, it's cute. It's about something we talked about earlier.
Oh boy.
There you go.
Damn. Damn.
I'm not wrong, am I?
No, you're not. Dude, that's mean. Damn, that's mean.
Put it up and then say the line. It's great. Or I'll say the line for you.
I got it. Okay, this is what Jeremy wanted to share here, because this is a riot, folks. So I'm gonna share my screen here really quickly so that way you guys can see it. Got to just get it set up right. Okay, here it is. Here you guys go.
Someone said they looked like Forrest Gump and Jedi, and now I can't unsee it.
I saw it on Facebook earlier this week.
Who the fuck is Jedi?
Jenny from Forrest Gump.
Jenny.
Forrest Gump. Hello, Jenny.
She was the junkie he was dating there, yeah.
So obviously she traveled with the team.
Of course she is.
Did you guys see that Twitter feed that showed Travis Kelce at the drugstore buying condoms? He was trying to cover it up with his hand, but there were condoms clearly on the counter.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I saw a script for Cialis in there too.
Jiminy freaking crickets.
So it's not
Or
Pfizer.
gloves.
Broken man.
No Pfizer. Some Valtrex in there.
Jesus
I heard
Christ.
Zach Wilson was going after Kelsey's mom in that Jets game.
Oh boy.
It was probably
Okay.
It was probably going after him and Taylor Swift's mom.
Okay. Back to our regularly scheduled program here. Broken Magazine says, is there actually any chance that we get CJ Gardner-Johnson back for the playoffs?
Yeah.
Phil says Kelce has a pump.
Oh boy. Jiminy freaking crickets. You guys are something awful.
I know we should really put this show on YouTube, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should. Just like the Kelce brothers.
Hey, I wonder if her song when she breaks up is I finally got a tight end after all the guys Taylor Swift has been through.
Jesus criminy.
Or I dropped one.
Oh.
That thing.
Finally got a tight end and I dropped it.
I'm gonna put that up there because he says don't say anything, but I'm definitely enjoying it. I abided by your wishes. I didn't say nothing, but all the same. Oh, good
look.
Lord.
Welcome to the golf side.
Braylon Dennis is laughing his ass off. He says, y'all a mess.
Can't help it. I seen it posted, so I had to send it because it was great.
Oh,
I saw that
wow. Oh,
wow.
Damn, Patty Grimes, you're mean. Patty Grimes says, did Kelce get a prescription from the Jets owner last week?
Probably.
Dude, that dude's fucking ancient as hell. If you gave him one of those, you'd probably give him a heart attack. WVlogs18 says, hi, I'm a new subscriber, friend of Jeremy's. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Will.
Oh, boy. Broken Magazine says, if we do get CJ Gardner-Johnson back for the playoffs, is it worth it, or will the time outweigh the potential for explosiveness? I guarantee you, if CJ comes back, he's going to be more than ready to play.
CJ wants to play right now.
Yoop says, it looked like E-Man was fearing his right knee as he left the field when his left was the one that he blew. Oh, he's talking about Manuel Mosley.
But his hamstring was the right leg.
Rodney Fouch, damn. Needs an air compressor for that.
For the pump.
And then Phil says, or give Swift a heart attack. Jiminy fricket. And then Yoop says, new rule, no Taylor slut. I mean Swift ever. Kelsey will get his obligatory song and dumping by December.
Yeah, and the new song's going to be called I Threw a Flag on the Play.
He'll be listening to Last Christmas by George Michael.
No, a flag.
Oh, okay.
Good gravy. All right, here. Let's
change this up. No more Taylor Swift talk. Let's get off of this.
Why not? She's mentioned every other sentence in every game, whether she's on it or not.
Red flag.
Do you figure if Taylor Swift acts as Swift as her name in the bedroom with freaking Kelsey? Jeremy's like, I hope not. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Well, no, he has the contact with Pfizer, so there's that.
It's okay. Kelsey, once he's done, she's going to teach him how to play music, and he's going to get into country western.
He'll be hitting them soprano notes.
Nope. He's going to sing a song called Deeper Than a Holler, and he's talking about that Grand Canyon between her legs.
All right, this is getting out of control.
It's going to have an echo effect on it, too.
Oh, boy. Jiminy freaking crickets. You guys are, oh, boy. J-Dub says, Kelsey better be careful. He might catch a case of Swiftless.
Yes.
Yep.
And then Phil says, does she require a helmet?
He should.
Damn right.
Vaughn says, Laporta for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's definitely in the running. He's definitely in the running. Laporta is definitely in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. LDV Tennis says, guys, be nice. Now, that's a mouthful coming from you.
Why?
Where's the fun in that?
Exactly.
Yeah, we are nice.
We are being nice because we can get way more nasty about this.
You guys should switch over to my channel. You want it to get nasty.
I'm telling you this right now. If Dan Davis were here, this would be hide the children. LDV Tennis says there are women who listen to this show.
There are.
And they're laughing.
And I'm not saying she's not a woman. I'm just saying she's not a lady.
I bet Elizabeth is laughing right now.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Anyway.
what?
Okay, let's move into the next topic. Let's move into the next topic here. So, DC, you're up, Mr. Giggles. And here's the topic. The Lions defense was able to have another multi-turnover filled game with 2 interceptions and 1 fumble. Could the Lions defense continue to keep up this dominating pace of realistically not just only sacks, but also, getting turnovers? Granted, I think they only had 1 sack today, and that was because freaking Bryce Young was running all over the field like a scared mouse.
Absolutely. I mean, we're jumping routes. We're doing pressure. We got it. I mean, I ain't worried about this streak continuing whatsoever.
All right, fair enough. What about you, Jay? Do you think the Lions can keep up getting more turnovers in every game that they play on defense?
That's going to really depend on if Glenn Campbell stays on his aggressiveness and what he's been doing. Or did I say Glenn Campbell?
You did say Glenn Campbell. I was like, the country singer?
Rhinestone Cowboy?
Because I'm not totally off the fire Aaron Glenn bandwagon yet. I'd say he's warm right now, but I'm waiting for him to disappear. Like it's like a magician. I'm just waiting for him to disappear.
Again, I've said it before. I'll say it now, and I'll say it again. I am absolutely ecstatic beyond measure that Aaron Glenn has got this defense working. But again, I want to see it the entire year. We've seen it for 3 straight games where he's played really good. Now, granted, at the end of the game, his defense kind of weighed off a little bit and allowed Bryce Young to come back. But for the majority of the last 12 quarters that we've played, Aaron Glenn has made that defense look really damn good. And I'll give credit where credit is due. But it's like, listen, is he still on the hot seat in my book? Yes, he is. I'm not going to outright call for him to be fired like I used to, but it's like, listen, I want to see what he's done the last 3 games, the remainder of the season. That's always been my motto. But what do you think, Jeremy? Do you think this Lions defense can keep doing what they're doing?
As long as AG doesn't get so stubborn and get cute thinking he can play the base defense and soft zone coverage for an entire half anymore, sure.
All right, fair enough. What do you think, Big West? Do you think this defense can keep doing what it's been doing?
Yes, I do, but I also would not be terribly disappointed if Aaron Glenn gets a head coaching job next year. We'll take a 3rd-round draft pick for a comp pick because I think we got guys on the staff right now who could do just as good a job as him. For example, Kelvin Shepard, I think he'd make a great defensive coordinator.
I mean, they've got plenty of guys in-house that they can promote, and I fully expect that if that happens, they will look internal first before they go external.
Yeah, I think Ben Johnson will be a lot harder to replace. I hope he stays. I hope we offer him head coach money just to stay as the offensive coordinator.
Well, we'll see what happens. Oh, good Lord. We're back to this again. Patty Grimes says, did you all see that commercial that Kelsey did for Jock Hitch? Wonder where he got it from.
Yep. I know they had crabs in Kansas City.
One of the Swifties.
Y'all make doing paperwork hard.
Dude, there's a joke that I heard one time, and it instantly came to my mind.
Uh-oh.
And the joke was, your mama's so nasty that the tampon falls out because the crabs keep jumping on the string.
You've been to Dundalk.
Just saying. As soon as y'all said that, I was like, damn. Adam Carver says, when Branch comes back, yes, I feel they can keep this up. Vogs18 says, definitely yes. They're an awesome defense full of weapons. Hutch, Branch, and others. SW Lion 16 says he'll need them after all this, after all those booster shots. Oh, brother. Phil then says, Glenn Campbell, he's dead.
Yeah, been dead
and then
since
Patty Grimes says, Glenn Campbell, Wichita lineman. There's about to say Wichita lineman, Rhinestone Cowboy, Galveston.
Don't forget, he also was a part of the Eagles for about 2 albums.
Yep. And on top of that, he also provided the singing voice of the rooster from Cock-a-Doodle-Doo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Cock-a-doodle.
Rock-a-doodle.
Yeah. He provided the voice of the rooster. He did actually a pretty decent job impersonating Elvis. Broken Magazine says Jerry Jacobs' takeaway abilities are making an argument for him keeping his spot. Thoughts? We will get to that later. Don't you worry. Phil says that Jack Campbell's not playing well. Jack Campbell played okay. He had one bad play.
It took Derek Barnes 3 years to play well.
Exactly.
Yep.
Vogs18 says his favorite play from the day was the flea flicker. I think that was everybody's favorite play.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That made everybody a La Porta Sapota.
Exactly. Yoop says, hate rooting for another NFC team, but my kid had classes and church events and Amy's with Purdy, who I loosely followed at ISU. He's a great kid, and he's playing the second evil empire behind Green Bay. I'm sorry. I don't care who's playing well. I will always root for my Lions first and only. That's always been me. Chuck Osborne says, I agree, Dave. I believe Aaron Glenn should still stay in the hot seat until the end of the season. LDV Tennis says, some interesting plays. That RPO throw to the backside, the toss cut, back run, any others. I'll say this. The one thing about the Lions offense today that I noticed that they did and essentially almost throughout the entirety of the game, they ran a lot of toss plays. I have not seen them run a lot of toss plays recently. I was really surprised at how many times they did that.
Wait till we get Gibby back.
I can't wait. Dude, I'm telling you this. When Gibby actually gets a chance to fully be utilized in this offense, it's going to be a masterstroke of just pure brilliance.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next topic here. And this is a topic that some people have talked about. So, Wes, you ready to go? Here we go. Aiden Hutchinson got another sack and now has 4.5 on the year and has pulled down his 4th career interception. Is he in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, in your opinion?
In my opinion, he is, but I don't get a vote. So unfortunately, nobody from Detroit is ever going to win that award. It's usually somebody from a bigger market team. That's just the way it goes.
All right,
but
fair enough.
One of my favorite plays this game. You guys ever watch a YouTube channel called Sandman Slow Lights? Every Lions victory, he shows all the highlights in super slow motion with music behind it. It's awesome. You guys should check it out one week. Usually it comes out every Wednesday. Sandman. Look it up on YouTube. The slow lights.
Fair
Incredible.
enough.
It's way better than watching the All 22.
Fair enough. What about you, Jeremy? What do you think? Do you think Aiden Hutchinson's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year?
Well, according to the odds, he has 4 people ahead of him, so I'm going to say no.
All right. Straight to the point. Easy peasy. What about you, Jay? Do you think that Hutch is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year at this point?
I'm on the phone. Hold on one second.
At least he was honest. What about you, DC? Do you think Hutchinson's in running for DPO? Or
I think he is.
DPOY?
I agree with Wes. He is, but it's a popularity contest between media, and we're not going to win those, so fuck them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we win games. That's all that really matters. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
well, I mean, if Barry Sanders can win MVP and co-MVP, with freaking Brett Favre back in the 90s when Brett Favre was like the media darling of the entire universe, I think it's possible, but you'd have to have a season that is kind of like on the same level as what Barry did as a running back. Now, the only way I could see Hutch doing something like that is if he gets like 3 to 3.5 times the sack production he has right now, and just absolutely absolutely blows it away by the time we get to the end of the year. Because, I mean, he's already got 4.5 sacks through 5 games, so he's averaging almost a sack a game. I know that's not the way the math actually works, but I'm just talking about averages here. So it is what it is. So I think he's in the running, but again, like everybody else has kind of said, it is a popularity contest, and I already know the Bosa brothers are always in top league for that award. Same thing for Watt in Pittsburgh. There's just a lot of other guys that are really going to be in the running for that award. So, oh my Lord, Elizabeth popped in with a Swift comment. She says, from a female's perspective, sounds like a deflation problem.
And she says, I am laughing my ass off.
Told you.
I'm just going to say this. I mean, here's the thing. This is the type of show where I expect adults to be adults. If we can have adult humor and still be able to stay on message, I'm cool with that. But if you're going to start getting, how should I say, your knickers in a twist and start twisting your twat like as if I'm freaking trying to take it all the way to the moon, then we're going to have a problem.
Don't get your lips crossed.
Keep your lips sealed.
Oh boy. This is why I love doing this show once a week, because this is when we can have a lot of fun.
All right, sorry guys, I'm back. I was on an important call.
Nope, that's all right. You just missed all the humor. But
I'm pretty sure I'll get caught up.
Yeah.
The question was, do you think that Aiden Hutchinson has a shot at Defensive Player of the Year?
I think he had a shot last year. I think he got fucked last year. Like, I don't understand how Sauce Gardner won, and I don't really get it. And I really think he has a good shot this year. He's high up there. And then like I said last year, I really think it was just the fact that he is on the Lions. Like, I don't think anybody on the Lions will ever win an award because nobody takes us serious.
Well, I will say this: to Sauce Gardner's credit, last year, as far as winning Defensive Rookie of the Year award, he was voted as an All-Pro member as a rookie, which is very, very hard to do. So, not taking anything away from Hutchinson, but Gardner did earn that award. It's just that Hutchinson also should have earned the award in any other given year. But it is what it is.
I think they should do a defensive player of the year for each conference because you don't always get to play the guy from the other team. But wait, we did. And we had guys
We
get
beat the
catches
shit out of
past
them.
Sauce Gardner, and we beat them.
That is true.
I was about to say in Madden, I know they got like 4 different awards. Like they got the offensive rookie year. Well, we do that. They do that here, but then they got an AFC and an NFC rookie and defensive player of the year.
Right.
Yep. Phil asks, is all pro worth anything? It's worth a lot. That's
all pro is to me means more than Pro Bowler.
Yeah, like if you're an all pro selection, you're doing something pretty damn good. Perry Ball says Swift will be the downfall for Travis Kelce, just like Jessica Simpson was for Tony Romo.
Oh, yeah, there was somebody that just posted that in the Trash Talk group. It says, somebody remind Taylor Swift that Jessica Simpson did it first.
Jessica, let's just be fair. Jessica Simpson did a lot of firsts.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Oberlin says, I don't totally trust Aaron Glenn, but what is the chance of burnout from our defense? I mean, let's be realistic. At some point, every team's going to have a game where it looks like they're kind of like off their, their normal standing. So I think that there's a chance at some point we're going to have a burnout game, but I don't know how far down the line.
Yeah, and Keto says that it's not just that. Hutchinson was the first defensive end edge player to win an award like that with those stats since Richard Dent and Lawrence Taylor. Both of those guys were defensive rookie of the years that year. So why?
And plus, on top of that, both of those guys are Hall of Fame players.
Well, Hutch didn't play in New York. That's where most of the votes are coming from. It's the Raiders that picked that, right? So.
Well, to be fair, a lot of the votes. This is the worst part about it. A lot of the votes are in New York. Exactly. Who plays for the New York Jets? Oh, that's right, Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, which is how you win these awards. You play in New York or LA.
Exactly. All right, DC, next question is to you, and so here we go. David Montgomery has been perhaps the best offseason free agent addition outside of Cameron Sutton. Is the debate of whether or not the Lions should have kept Jamal Williams pretty much dead and over with? What do you think?
Yeah, well dead. Not even close.
Fair enough. There's a reason I'm asking this question, but fair enough. I like the answer. What do you think, Jay? Do you think the whole debate of whether or not we should have kept Jamal Williams over Montgomery is over with?
I thought it was over with like his first or second game. Like I loved Jamal Williams. He stepped up. He did what we asked him to do. But when you look at the differences between these two, like especially when you said it, like David Montgomery barely got 1,000 yards behind Chicago's offensive line, which was shit. You put him behind a decent offensive line, and he's fucking killing it. He got more touchdowns here than his entire career at Chicago.
Yep, last year.
And if you look at Williams in the Saints division, I'm pretty sure he's not even doing as great as he did when he was here.
Oh, I guarantee you it's not that way, but all the same, what do you think, Jeremy? Do you think the whole debate of Jamal Williams versus David Montgomery is dead and over with?
Who the fuck's Jamal Williams?
All right, fair enough. I can live with that. What about you, Wes? What do you think?
Montgomery is twice the player that Jamal Williams ever was or ever will be. I don't like fucking MMA anyway. So there you go.
Well, the way I look at it is this, and I've talked about this before. If you take a look at Jamal Williams over the entirety of his career, except for maybe this year and 1 year he was with the Packers, he has always been behind a top 15, near top 10 offensive line. And last year, he barely got over 1,000 yards. Primarily, he was just a guy that we handed the ball off to in the 5-yard line and pretty much was looking to score touchdowns. David Montgomery has the ability to, as we saw today, take it 42 yards to the house, be a pass catcher, and do a whole lot more than what Jamal Williams could do.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, to Jamal Williams' credit, Jamal Williams was kind of like the spiritual, kind of leader of that team because he was like the personality that kind of filled everything in. But now the Lions have a whole bunch of different leaders that kind of have their own personalities that fill in. Like, as we just said, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Jared Goff starting to get his own kind of personality, and there's other players that are stepping up. But realistically, when you compare Montgomery to Williams, the only thing Williams really had over Montgomery is the personality. Other than that, Montgomery's beating him in production easily. That's just my thoughts.
Absolutely.
You can't say that Jamal Williams didn't have any long runs, because I remember one of 29, and his long last year was 51. That was against the Commanders in week 2. Remember that?
That is true, but at the same time, those were rarities. Those were rarities.
Yeah,
whereas you're seeing a 20-yard,
1 yard out.
right? Whereas this year you're seeing a 10-yard here, a 15-yard there, a 20-yard there, and then today a 42-yard touchdown.
Exactly. Like, that's the difference, is that Montgomery has a much larger array of arsenal to his running style than what Jamal Williams had. Jamal Williams, suffice it to say, was just a pure north and south runner. He's a bulldog. That's all he does.
And he could not catch a cold.
Couldn't catch a cold either. He was
That's true too. But the thing of it is Montgomery is a much more all-around purpose back than what Williams was. Now let's take a look-see here. Keitho says, makes sense. Adam Carver says, absolutely dead and over with. Yoop says, besides the season, there should also be a Super Bowl offensive MVP and a defensive MVP. 2 years ago, Donald should have gotten that. Phil says the same thing that freaking Jeremy said. Who's Jamal? Keitho says, Demo is way better. He's getting over 17 touchdowns and way more yards, and we got him for 3 years. This is true. Yep. Perry Ball says, yes, David, M is having way more impact than Jamal. Aaron Winsner says, Monty has a shot at 1,400 yards. Well, here's the thing. I actually checked this out. Before the stats for this game were put in, ESPN's already projecting he's going to have 1,100 yards. You add the other 100 yards he just got in today, yeah, it's probably going to jump up to that 1,300 range. Adam Carver says that the old Lions would have overpaid Jamal Williams to keep him. Patty Grimes.
Thank God we don't have them.
Patty Grimes says the Williams is injured in New Orleans. Yes, he is.
Only played 2 games.
Yoop says people compare Jamal to Barry, which is blasphemy. Jamal averaged 2 yards per touchdown, including one of 50 yards. Barry averaged 16 yards per touchdown. Phil says compare Monty to Swift. The better comparison would be freaking Gibbs to Swift, but we really don't have much with Gibbs to compare just yet. Let's see here. Yoop says that Swift is gearing up for his next 4-game injury, which you probably aren't wrong.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Chuck Osborne says, I believe that David Montgomery deserves the respect because he's showing what stuff he can do. Elizabeth pops in and says again, the media likes Detroit and are hard-pressed to look at us differently. That's kind of true.
And I get what Perry Ball said. Jessica Simpson was a better catch than Taylor Swift will ever be.
Well, I could tell you why, but again, I'm married and I'm happy with what I got.
So keep your mouth shut. I'll say it for you. Jessica Simpson's got all the curves in the right places, whereas Swift looks like a carpenter's dream, flat as a board, but she's been split in 2 already.
The best way I can describe Taylor Swift is she is the very definition of a brand new washboard. She looks pretty, but she ain't got nothing to work with. So I guess the saying money can't buy everything. But okay, moving on to the next topic here. DC will be up first, so here we go. Jared Goff had perhaps one of his best games as a Lion, completed 71% of his passes with a 132 passer rating and having 4 total touchdowns. What about Goff has impressed you from his play? Maybe not necessarily just from this game, but from the start of this year overall, like a full sample body.
I really like his fuck you attitude to all of his detractors. That is the best.
Fair enough. I can go with that. What do you think, Jay? What's the best thing about Jared Goff's play that has impressed you the most?
I would have to say his ability to overcome his interceptions. I know he's thrown 3 so far. I'm not worried about him throwing a bunch of interceptions this year, but a lot of people said, that he wouldn't be able to overcome it, or, that Detroit wouldn't be able to overcome turnovers. And I know Dan Campbell said it himself. But every time Jared Goff has thrown an interception or made a mistake, he's owned up to it, which is number one in leadership. And then number two, he's also came back from it and thrown like touchdowns and came back and thrown multiple completions. So,
all right, fair enough. So you like the fact that he can overcome his adversity and take ownership of when he makes mistakes. DC likes the fact of his pretty much his gritty attitude and don't give a fuck about anybody else's opinion. What about you, Jeremy? What about Goff has impressed you the most from his play so far this year?
The O-line gives him enough time to make a panini sandwich before he has to throw the ball lately. I mean, he's not pressured that often. And when he is pressured, he maintains the composure pretty well. He's also a great leader. That's pretty much it in a nutshell for me.
All right, fair enough. What about you, Wes? What about you? What has Goff impressed you with most in far of his play?
His ability to read defenses in like this offense, he has total command of it. His teammates totally trust him. And when he does make a mistake, he has a short memory. He comes right back and leads into a touchdown the next drive.
After all the conversations we had, I read that wrong from Rodney Fauch, and I'm going to apologize. The dirty thoughts went through my mind already.
I can see why you thought that. I'm just gonna say this. The thing about Goff that has impressed me the most is this. We already knew when we got Goff that he was a very accurate passer because all 3 years that he's been here, he's thrown 65% or better of his passes. But when you're throwing at a 70% clip rate, you're doing something good. The fact that Goff has got not only, as Wes said, total command of the offense, but his ball placement is damn near perfect where he's not getting wide receivers killed damn near all the time. And, I mean, you've seen the throws that he's thrown to Josh Reynolds. Like, some of those are only where Reynolds can get it. So, for me, the thing that's really impressed me about Goff is how much further he's taken his accuracy to the next level. Because, I mean, dude, that one touchdown to Reynolds today, that was literally a repeat of the exact same play we saw last year, I think, against either the Seahawks or the Commanders. It was the exact same play with the exact same result in the exact same spot. I was just like, damn. Ooh, you guys are damn near mean. Braylon Dennis says Taylor Swift is either built like a doornail or a cigarette. Let's see here. Phil says that what's impressed him the most about Goff is his intelligence. Adam Carver says he doesn't seem to get fazed when he makes a mistake. LEV, jeez Louise, you guys keep hammering that phrase. Doornail, freaking cigarette, freaking dude. Rodney Fauch says a lot of composure, confidence. He likes it in the D. Which I know why now Jeremy said what he said. What he was specifically trying to say is he likes it in Detroit, not
there we go.
It in the you-know-what.
I couldn't help it, though. When the conversation's gone about Swift and Kelsey, and then that comes up, I was like, oh, no.
Exactly. Yoop says, I think Goff takes a below-market, quietly negotiated contract to keep money for teammates like number 9 used to. Besides, Kristen loves... Kristen? Oh, he's talking about his girlfriend, now fiancé. I had to think about that for a moment. Rodney Fauch gets what you were saying, Jeremy. Perry Ball says, Goff is at the best when he's got a good running game. Almost every quarterback is. Quarterbacks need good running games because it really opens up the ability to throw the ball in play action. Ezra Gray Jiminy Crickets, says, I told you first they were going to get that 40 burger. I know you did. LAV Tennis says, Goff's ball placement has always been exceptional, but it's been way more exceptional this year. Phil says, Goff has more zip on his ball this year. Yoop is talking about the 49ers and Cowboys game, Purdy and Kittle. I am watching that game because that is a game I'm really interested in because those are two NFC powerhouses that we're probably going to have to contend with. Oh, boy. Phil says, is Taylor there with you, Jeremy? I heard a bark.
No,
if that's the
that's-
case, Taylor needs to get a shave and a haircut.
That's
Yeah.
not,
Dave, you think after
that's
this,
not-
YouTube
that's
tells you to
not
put
Jedi,
an R
that's
rating on your live
Jedi.
show?
Jay, what did you say?
I said, you think after this, YouTube tells you to put a like a R rating on your shows before it? You know how when you
No,
play
Already
because
did.
it says-
Because what YouTube does before you put anything on television or on YouTube, you have to make the distinction. Is it made for kids or not made for kids? And every show I make, I always make sure to say, no, this is not made for children.
No, I was just saying, do you think you got to put a rated R symbol on your stuff? Like,
No.
before a movie?
I told him mine's TVMA and it shouldn't be watched by anybody under the age of 21. Because
Rich
I
Hustle
cuss
says,
like Cartman in the movie.
Rich Hustle says Jared Goff is that silent assassin. He's like the Matilda of the Detroit Lions in the most respectful way possible. Braylon
Hey,
Dip
Jeremy,
says,
check your messenger.
That's second.
Bill,
I got
they
my
won't
TV
demonetize me for this. We're just having fun.
I don't know, but I'm sick of the Taylor Swift breakup songs myself.
Anyway, let's see here. Chuck Osborne says golf is tough. I'm impressed with his playing, and I believe in him. Swell Mel 93 says they better put some respect on Jared Goff's name. All pretty much good comments. I agree.
Oh, before the game, I had to defend Jared Goff to somebody. He came in, he heard me listening to your show, and then he was like, "Oh, it's that one guy who loves Jared Goff," and I was like, "What's wrong with Jared Goff?" I had remembered that, and I was busy earlier, and I was like, "There's nothing wrong with him." Then they tried to tell me how he's a bridge quarterback and shit, and I was like, "You're not gonna convince me."
Dude, I could literally run laps around people with that argument. And I've done it before, and I can do it again. But I ain't doing it right now because I think most Lions fans have come to the reality situation of I was proven right 2 years ago. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Anyway, all right. Wes, you're up first this time. So here we go. No St. Brown, no Gibbs, no Branch, no problem. The Lions won despite losing some big players. Have the Lions matured to win despite having injuries and take the next level towards contention? What do you think?
Absolutely. They've only lost 3 of their last 15 games now. I mean, they know how to win now. They've taken on the character of their coach.
What do you think, Jeremy? Do you think that they're taking that next level towards contention by being able to win games despite losing big players?
What did we say all offseason? We probably have the deepest roster in the NFC North, which is why we will win the North, because the injuries won't hurt us as bad. It's been proven.
Fair enough. And I agree with you. I agree. Depth is important. And when you have players that can come in when others are injured and keep the ball rolling, keep the offense, defense, whatever running at the same level, it really helps you to be able to keep, winning games. What do you think, Jay? Do you think the Lions have matured to take that next level towards, contention?
Oh yeah, I believe that they can do it. I mean, they've already proved it. They proved it against the Packers when we had a few starters out. They proved it when a couple weeks ago when we were missing
Atlanta
Decker against the Falcons, and now they proved it again against the Panthers. Like, Detroit's coming, and we're coming hard. Like, watch out.
Fair enough. I think DC stepped off to either get a drink or smoke something.
No, I'm here.
Oh.
No, I'm here.
I just didn't want to assume, so I figured I'd just
No
come up
worries.
with something. Do you think the Lions have matured to being able to win despite having injuries and take that next level towards contention?
Absolutely.
All right.
Our
And I
depth
mean,
is set.
I think most people would think the same way because it's like, listen, I mean, we've all heard the same stupid, tired excuses for years on end. Oh, this player was hurt. This player was injured. We didn't win because of this reason. It's like, no, the Lions have really adopted that mindset of, hey, next man up. Go out there, do your job, get it done. So if you can do that, you've definitely shown the maturity as a team to be able to get games done and get one. All right. Let's move into our next topic here. So DC is up first. So this actually kind of applies right now, considering the fact that the Niners and the Cowboys are playing right now. So here we go. Here's the question. The Lions have now advanced to 4-1 on the year and clearly are in the driver's seat in the NFC North. Is this team a top 3 team in the NFC, in your opinion? Not the NFC North, the entire NFC conference. What do you think, DC?
Absolutely. Until someone proves us not, yep, absolutely.
Fair enough. What do you think, Jay? Do you think the Lions are a top 3 NFC team right now?
Oh yeah, I do believe that, because like I already got like on a betting thing that the Detroit Lions get seed number 3, which obviously means that they're the 3rd best team in the NFC. The only 2 people I see better than us are 49ers and the Eagles. And that's not because of talent. I think it's more just of coaching and maybe a few players that they got. Other than that, like I don't really feel like they're that much better than Detroit. They're just probably a little bit better. That gives them that edge.
All right, fair enough. Jeremy, what about you? Do you think the Lions are a top 3 NFC team or no?
Yeah. Simple. Yes.
All right, fair enough. I always like simplicity. What about you, Wes? Do you think the Lions are a top 3 NFC team?
Well, I think the Cowboys are good defensively, but offensively they're a big question mark. And I think the 49ers are probably better than us right now, but I really don't think their quarterback is a world beater. And I would say Philadelphia is this year's Minnesota. They keep winning, but just barely. They haven't been impressive in any game this year. So, I mean, we'll wait and see. But if we keep improving every week, we could end up winning the NFC. I wouldn't discount it.
Yeah. I mean, the way I've always looked at the NFC conference this year is a very simple one. There are 4 top teams in the NFC clearly in my mind, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles, the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Lions. Now, the reason why I say 4 is because depending upon the day, who's playing and who's doing better at what position is just, it depends on who's doing better. Like the Cowboys can be number 3 one day, the Lions can be number 3 one day. Like for me, it just kind of depends on who's doing better at that moment. But I think that for the Lions, they're making a really, really strong case to where it'd be like, okay, they are that number 3 team in the NFC North, or not NFC North, the NFC. And it's not even particularly close in terms of how far they are from the Eagles and the Niners. Like the Niners, I think they're a little bit further away from, but the Eagles, I think they're right on their doorstep. Like they're not that far off. All right, let's see here. We got some comments to deal with. Phil says, really? Top 3? Oh, absolutely. I think the Lions are definitely a top 3 team in my opinion. Absolutely. LDV Tennis says, what happened to Jeremy? Looks like he stepped outside for a moment. Had to get himself a cigarette break.
30.
Perry Ball says the Lions are a tough team to play against. Teams will have to bring their A game and play as hard to beat us. Absolutely. Michael Laughlin says they sure look like it, Dave. They're only getting better even without their superstars playing. That is a very valid point. Yoop says, light humor. Smoked stuffed jalapenos were a great idea during the Lions game. Not so much about now. And Elizabeth Oberlin goes back to the Swift conversation, says, Kelsey is the nail to the Swift board.
Yes. I like this lady.
Thomas Donner says, 3rd quarter, we better get that figured out. I do agree. We do need to get our offensive woes in the 3rd quarter definitely figured out. All right, Wes, you're up next, and we'll move on to our next topic. So now we're going to start getting into more like specific stuff, like actual players here. So here we go. Jameson Williams played against the Panthers, and his return wasn't as prolific as some, again, had hoped for. Were the expectations around Jameson Williams from some of these fans unrealistic? And should Lions fans practice more patience and follow Dan Campbell's plan? What do you think?
It's good. He's never going to be the guy that's going to catch 6-7 passes a game. That's just not him. He's a flashy player that's going to get a big touchdown or a big running play once in a while. And he's a deep threat that's going to open it up for everybody else. That's just what he is. He's all about the speed. I mean, he obviously his hands have to improve, but he's 22. He'll get better. Once he gets his confidence, when he starts breaking a few long ones, he'll get better. People just have to be patient. They're expecting way too much too soon.
I agree. What do you think, Jeremy? What are your thoughts on the whole expectations of Jamel from some fans?
The fans are unrealistic. This is basically like his rookie season. That being said, he did better than what Vegas predicted him to do because they had him at 1.5 receptions this game. He got 2. I said to bet the over. That was an easy one. Somebody bet the over 35 yards. I said I wouldn't do that yet.
I agree. What about you, Jay? Do you think the expectations that some Lions fans have around Jameson Williams are a little unrealistic?
Yeah, I think that they're giving him unrealistic expectations. I think it's mainly because that Detroit drafted him number 12. They jumped up to go get him and whatnot. And it's too early to try and tell what's going on with him. And it was too many expectations for his first game back. I knew his play was going to be limited. I didn't think he was going to play that much. I'm surprised he played as much as he did. I feel like it's mainly just because Amon-Ra St. Brown was injured, and they put him in there. But he did okay with what we asked him to do today. Like, you know, he's going to get better and better as time goes on. And like Big West said, we haven't even seen him open up his speed yet. We haven't seen him hit that deep route yet. Like, Ben Johnson's got plays on plays on plays designed for him that they have not even seen to do yet.
Fair enough. What do you think, DC? What do you think about everything as far as these expectations from, for Jameson Williams? What are your thoughts?
I think they're unrealistic and bullshit. And people need to have patience because once he gets running, no pun intended, holy shit, we're going to be facing 3 deep every goddamn day, every goddamn play between him and Gibbs. I mean, what he provides to our offense, even if he doesn't get the stats, is pretty much unimaginable. You have to cover 2 players with 4.2, 4.3 speed. Montgomery's going to have a heyday running against 3 deep all day.
Fair enough.
Don't forget, if they play 3 deep, you got Amon-Ra right in the middle.
And, yep, that's not even bringing up Amon-Ra and Laporta.
Here,
Reynolds.
Here's the thing.
We're not going to be able to do that. And then Williams is going to be one-on-one like you saw they left Tyreek Hill one-on-one. Shit. Leave JMO one-on-one. Go ahead.
Here's the thing about the whole JMO expectations that's always kind of bugged me is that when we drafted him number 12 overall in 2022, everyone thought as soon as we brought him back that he was just going to freaking explode like a stick of dynamite. And it's like, listen, he's been rehabbing the whole year. He hasn't had a chance to really play yet. Like, you can't expect that players are just going to instantaneously come straight onto the field after not having a chance to play and just, produce right away. That's just not the way it works most times. 9 times out of 10, they need time to work into it. And then, okay, we get to this offseason. Then we find out he's suspended for 6 games. Okay, then he gets an injury to his hamstring, which takes even more time and ability for him to work with the offense away. So then he's gone from the facilities for 3 weeks because he can't be at the facility for the first 3 weeks. And then the last week he's allowed to start coming in and get some work with the offense. So I get it. Some fans are saying that we're coddling him, but we're not. It's called we're being realistic here. Even the best wide receivers that have played the game didn't start off just, making dynamic plays. I mean, for hell's bells, go back to Megatron. His very first year, his rookie year, he didn't crack 1,000 yards. He had to learn the ropes. You go back to some of the best receivers that have ever played the game. They didn't just come out and start, putting 1,000-yard seasons as soon as they played. Does that happen? Yeah, it does. But it's not the way it always happens. That's my whole point here. With JMO, it's like, listen, he's had to deal with some adversity to start the seasons that he's been in the NFL. But he's not complained about it. He's not pointed fingers. He's just come in. He's done his job, and he's always tried to get better. And again, Now that he has the majority of this year to work with the offense and actually practice, like Wes has said and like Jeremy said, I expect he's going to get better as he gets more reps and he gets more time in the system. That's just the way it works. There are very few people that just come in and are just absolutely just going to blow everything up as soon as they show up on the field. It just doesn't happen that often.
Punt returns isn't what he excelled at Alabama as well as he did kick returns, though. Kick returns is what he did best. And I said, if he doesn't work out this season, Dave Fitt may be salivating to say, hey, let's let this kid return kicks. Because Raymond looks like a better receiver this year than kicker and punt returner. Exactly.
And again, sometimes that does happen. But as far as I'm concerned, again, people that are wanting to just give up on JMO or are expecting him to do some miraculous like breakout game, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you have to just build consistency. Because think about it. Take a look at Sam Laporta, for example. He's a rookie. It's not like he's had a breakout game. He's just been very freaking consistent every single game. That's what JMO needs to develop, is just start being consistent. And that will come with time, reps, and practice. He just needs to get more practice. And LDV tennis, I understand it. It's 18 months and counting, but you have to factor in for the first, like 3 or 4 months of those freaking 18 months, he freaking couldn't do anything because he was rehabbing an ACL injury. Was that his fault that Brad Holmes drafted him with an ACL tear? No. You had to expect that was going to be part of the deal. Then you have the offseason. He can't play games in the offseason, so there's nothing that can help you there. Then there was the suspension. Was the suspension really his fault, or was it a really ticky-tacky rule? JMO said, LEV Tennis says, JMO is never going to be a Justin Jefferson. We need a Justin Jefferson. I'll be honest with you, LDV. No, we don't. We don't need a Justin Jefferson. If we had one, it would be nice, but this offense doesn't need it. This offense is built perfectly the way it is.
JMO will never be a number one target.
Again, Kansas City doesn't have a Justin Jefferson. They're doing okay.
And again, you have to take a look at it like Wes said, and even Dan Campbell has said it. JMO is not a guy that's going to go out there and get 5, 6, 7 catches a game. He might get 3, he might get 4, and they're all going to be big plays. Because think about it. You go to Tyreek Hill and his offensive production, that's an oddity. Players that are his speed don't normally do that well. So again, as far as I'm concerned, I'm fine with what JMO's doing right now. Get his legs under him, get some more time in the offense before we start getting really over the top with these expectations. And again, don't expect him to have a 7, 8, 9, 10 reception game and just completely go off. If he gets 3, 4, 5 receptions a game and they're big chunk plays, I'm cool with that. Because again, that's just the receiving aspect of it. We're starting to use a lot more freaking end around plays as well. You can use freaking JMO in those types of plays too.
Besides, Bob Yoop says that Goff has never thrown to anyone that fast.
Brandon
What
Cooks.
about when I was just to say Brandon Cooks when he out Mahomes on that Monday Night Football game?
I was about to say Brandon Cooks is right around JMO's speed. He's right around there. Goff has had the ability to throw to some really fast receivers. Plus, on top of that, take a look at Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond's a 4.34. That's pretty fucking fast too.
And we had someone better than Justin Jefferson, and it didn't win us a playoff game.
That was Megatron, but that was also with
Damn
Stafford.
Right. Yeah, so we don't
hit
need that.
JMO right in the hands on that crossing road today. And if JMO would have concentrated and caught the ball, he might have scored.
Yeah.
And again, that's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for with JMO. You're looking for him to get a small time play and make it into something big because of his speed. That's why they did those screen patterns. Because it's like, listen, if he gets 1, maybe 2 blocks, he's gone.
Yeah, and it was 2 receiving yards, but the one play he had went 8 yards past the line of scrimmage on first down on that screenplay. The other one he was hit on the screenplay behind the line of scrimmage.
And that was because Marvin Jones missed the block on the cornerback because he took a bad angle. That's not on JMO. The fact that he still caught the pass despite it getting right there when he got hit, again, Thomas Donner says, more practice. Jamo should know this offense forward and back. It's not about whether or not he knows the offense. It's about being comfortable in the offense. I can know a play all damn day long, but having the chemistry, the timing, and everything else down with every play, that's a different story altogether. It takes time. I understand everybody wants to see Jamo start producing, but I'm sorry, I'm going to keep saying it. You all need to practice some damn patience. I get it. We want to see the production, but for crying out loud, we waited 3 years for the Lions to start winning under Dan Campbell. Can we just give the kid a little bit more time? Jiminy freaking crickets.
Yeah, and how many points do we put up today?
42.
Okay. Okay. Just reminding people, we put up 42 points with Jamo getting 2 yards.
How many times have Kirk Cousins and the Vikings put up 42 this year?
I don't even know if they put up 30 yet. Let me check, because now you've piqued my interest. Let's see how many points that the Vikings have put up this year in each game. Let's see here. The Vikings have not put up one single game with 30 points. Not one. The closest they came was against the Eagles with 28. So with Justin Jefferson, they've not even cracked 30 points in one game this year.
And now have they been on primetime every week?
Just saying. I mean, everybody wants to see the production out of the kid, and trust me, I do too. But you have to understand something. These things take time. It takes patience. It takes cultivation and development. It's like a damn garden. It takes time. Anyway, let's move off this topic and let's move into something else. All right, here. DC, you're up first this time. So, here we go. Stan Laporta has been impressive with his consistent production for the Lions offense. He is already projected to get at or near 1,000 yards for the season. And for the season, he also has 3 touchdowns receiving. How good do you think Laporta will be after seeing him through the first 5 games of the year so far? I didn't know that was that funny.
All I can say is we got ourselves a goddamn elite top tier tight end, and we'll have them for some time.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt this, but LDV Tennis and Thomas are not letting this one go. So let's just put this all together. Thomas says, at what point are we going to hold him accountable? How about when he actually gets a chance to play more than just a couple of games a year? Again, you have to give the guy a chance to play. I'm telling you guys, you have to give him a chance to play. He's only, again, let's think about this. He's played in 7 games, folks. 7 games. That's literally a third of an NFL season now. That's not nearly enough time to be able to say, okay, you now have become acclimated to playing at NFL speed, playing against NFL defenses, playing against NFL coverage. It's not fair. You guys are
8 if you count as 1 preseason game.
Exactly. It's like, listen, that's not enough time. You guys are wanting him to go out there and just freaking blow up the NFL. And that's not realistic. Now, if you want to ask the question of when I'm going to hold him accountable, here's what I'm just going to simply say. Dan Campbell has been right about all of the other stuff when it comes to this team. If Dan Campbell is still giving Jamo the ability to continue to grow and develop, that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. If Dan Campbell's still good with him, that's all I need to know. Dan Campbell is one of those guys that sells it straight. He's not going to put some like feathered bullshit up your ass and say, oh, well, this is what it is, and it's not really that. Dan Campbell tells the truth. If Dan Campbell is fine with what he's seeing out of Jamo, that's all I care about.
If we do what they want us to do, which is give up on him and stuff, then we may as well get the SOL mindset in our head. But we're not going to do that.
And again, there's nothing that says that, you know what, maybe Jamo doesn't work out. And if he doesn't, you know what, that sucks. But I'm not going to say that, you know what, I'm expecting and hoping that Jamo, you know, succeeds against all odds just because I want him to. I want him to do better so that way it helps the team. But if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to shed a tear neither. It's about him being able to play. I'm just not looking forward to the whole idea of crucifying this young man just because, well, you know what? We drafted him with these high expectations, and because the media has made him out into this villain because he hasn't been able to meet such expectations that, oh, well, he's a bust, he's this, that, or the other thing. Okay, in LDV tennis, I get that. You want J-Mo to catch the ball. But even players like Amon-Ra St. Brown drop passes. It happens. It's part of the
week
game.
10. Until week 10 his rookie year.
Exactly.
J-Mo didn't catch – Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't catch on until week 10.
Exactly. And on top of that,
it's like, how many games J-Mo has played? He played what? 8 games
7.
last year and 1 this year.
He played 6 games last year.
Well, hold on here. Whoa. Sue, you need to knock that nonsense off. Jameson Williams has not been coddled by the media. If anything, that guy has been attacked by the media almost relentlessly. Because Woodward went after him, Fox Sports has gone after him, damn near everybody has gone after him because of either stuff in his personal life or because of the fact that he's not been able to perform on the field. It's called being reasonable. It's not talking about coddling. It's reasonable. It's being smart about what are reasonable and realistic expectations here. A lot of Lions fans are wanting freaking J-Mo to go out and have a 150-yard receiving game and 2 touchdowns and say, that's what we expect every week. It's not realistic.
Even Devonta Smith didn't show up till this year, really. He didn't have 1,000 yards his rookie year.
Exactly. And again, I keep using this as a perfect example here. Go back to freaking Chris Carter. Chris Carter didn't catch on until a couple of years in the NFL because when he was with the Eagles, he didn't do shit. It wasn't until he went to the Vikings that he really caught on. If Lions fans had kept the same mindset with Chris Carter that a lot of you all are having with J-Mo, Chris Carter would have never had a chance to do anything in the NFL. That's why I'm saying you all need to relax. You need to have some damn patience. I get it. Y'all want him to perform, but Jiminy freaking crickets. Anyway, getting back to the original question about Sam Laporta here, I'm sorry because I try my best to keep a level head here, but it's like, listen, there comes a point where it's like you got to stand up for something here and try and set people straight. Okay, and Thomas Donner, yes, Chris Carter was busy with drugs and chicks. What has the media made out about freaking, Jameson Williams? Oh, that's right, fireworks, going to freaking Coney Islands in the bad parts of Detroit, and gambling. So, go figure. Anyway, Jay, getting back to you, what do you think Sam Laporta is going to be like? How good of a player do you think he's going to be?
I think he's got a potential to be the number 1 tight end in the NFL. With the way he's playing right now and the way I've seen his college tapes, breaking tackles and stuff, like we've only seen like he's getting better and better every day. And it seems like he wants to get that to that top tier. And I really feel like he's going to be that number 1 tight end in the NFL that people are going to be looking at like, damn, we should have drafted him.
All right. Fair enough. What do you think, Jeremy? What are your thoughts on Sam Laporta and how good do you think he can be?
Sam Laporta is going to be one of the best tight ends to ever play the game. I mean, that's bar none. You can already see it. He's already breaking tackles after the catch. He's already getting open. And he could be an all-pro this year. Pro Bowler, I don't really care about because, like I said, that's a popularity contest. I want to see all-pros.
Yeah. I mean, Pro Bowl is voted on by the fans. All-pro is voted on by writers. So that's a little bit different. But, all right, fair enough. What do you think, Big West? What are your thoughts on Laporta?
Well, the sky's the limit. He could wear a gold jacket someday.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm going to just say this right now. Aside from the production that we've already seen on the field and on the film, his blocking, his receiving prowess, he's done magnificent and all of that. The best thing I can say about Laporta is this, and DC can back me up on this. Watching the freaking halftime show with Gronkowski, and they talked about it. Gronkowski was literally beating the table about how good he thought Laporta was. And it's like, listen, Gronkowski is arguably one of, if not the best tight end that has ever played the game. If Gronk is beating the table that hard for freaking, Laporta, that right there is all I need to know.
Damn right.
All right, let's see here. Thomas Donner says that Laporta, in his opinion, barring injury, could go to the Pro Bowl this year. LDV Tennis says Laporta is Kelsey / Gronk 2.0. Could very well be. He definitely plays like it. Keitho says that Laporta's breaking records. He's a beast. Bo Guerra says if JMO is slacking on blocking too, I'd be worried. The dude is trying, just needs to settle down. He's like a spaz kid on one of those harnesses when the ball is coming his way. That's probably one of the best descriptions I've seen thus far. Because, again, he's trying his best out there on blocks. And, again, Jeremy can testify to it. I can testify to it. Anybody who watched the game can testify to it. He was making some really big blocks in the running game this week, which those would be huge as far as, getting the ball down the field. But anyway, Thomas Downer says Laporta, the most receptions in NFL history after 5 games as a rookie. LDV Tennis says Laporta is instinctive. He knows how to get open. That is true. Rodney Fauch says that Gronk was all excited talking about Laporta at the halftime show, which is definitely true. All right, let's get into our next topic because we did talk about this earlier. So, Wes, you're up first, so here we go. Jerry Jacobs has gotten 3 interceptions in the last 2 weeks and has garnered all of the team's interceptions on defense so far. Has Jerry Jacobs redeemed himself from the first 2 weeks from, those bad defensive outings? What do you think?
To be honest about it, I thought he played okay those games too. I thought the refs were a little hard on him. Some of those interference calls were kind of weak. But, everyone has good and bad games. They were picking on him a bit. I mean, obviously they were trying to pick on him rather than going on the other side. So, but I mean, the last couple of weeks, he's playing like a stud. I don't know if Mosley can take the job off him now.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously because of the money they gave Mosley, they're obviously going to try to get him back in, but we'll see what happens.
It's only a 1-year contract. It's no big deal.
No, that's true too.
Next year if they don't re-sign him.
That's true too. What do you think, Jeremy? What are your thoughts on Jerry Jacobs so far?
He's played better, and that's great. I think the biggest thing that gave him confidence is he was burnt when Anzalone tipped that ball that he got his first interception. After that, he started playing like we saw the year before. He's solid, but he's not a starter on most teams. Let's be real. He'd be depth on any other team. But Jacobs has improved.
And I agree with that. I do. I think as much as I like the fact that we've added a lot of defensive secondary help this year, I can tell you this right now. It would not at all surprise me if the Lions invest a first or a second-round draft pick and a cornerback this upcoming draft because they need somebody opposite of Cameron Sutton for the next couple of years. And I don't know if Mosley's going to be coming back or not, but we'll see what happens. Okay, Jay, what about you? What are your thoughts on Jerry Jacobs?
You kind of hinted at my answer, but I was going to say he's done really well to improve himself over those last few weeks, but I think his size is going to really hurt him. And he's good at, like what Jeremy said, he wouldn't be a starter on any other defense. He wouldn't even be looked at. Like, if we let him go, nobody would really look at him because of his size. And I know size shouldn't matter, but when you're getting burnt and people are putting you up against, like, DK Metcalf and you're getting burnt, you can't cover these people, and it's because your size and speed. I feel like that, like you said, they're going to go in this draft. They're going to try and find somebody that's 6 foot, like what's his name? The guy that they got from on Seattle. He's like over 6 foot, 90, really, really fast. Like they're gonna look for somebody fast and tall.
Well, I know this much. I know a lot of people were particularly high on us drafting potentially either Witherspoon or Gonzalez in this last draft. I don't know who the top cornerback prospects are this year, but I guarantee you this, once we get to the offseason, there'll be plenty of discussion about it. But that'll be for a couple of months down the road. All right, DC, what are your thoughts on Jerry Jacobs?
3 picks, making hellacious hits in the run game. I have no problem with it. It'll be great once we get Mosley back. But right now, I have no problems with Jacobs.
Yeah, and I think Jeremy hit it the best is like, listen, is Jerry Jacobs an okay player? Yeah, he's an okay player. He's going to make plays for you. But he's not a guy that I want in the starting lineup every week, especially when I know I can get something better. He's how should I say this? If I had to put it, Jerry Jacobs is a good third-string cornerback. I want my first two guys to be my top guys, and then Jerry Jacobs would be the guy right behind them. That's where he's best utilized, coming in for a couple of plays every week, making plays, so on and so forth. But I don't want to see him on the field all the damn time. I don't think he's that good, at least not yet. Now, he could surprise me and could improve to be that good, but we'll see. Let's see here. We'll take a look at some of these comments. LDV Tennis says that Jerry Jacobs has improved. Dale says Jerry is playing good, but we'll have to see more out of him at this point. LDV Tennis says the interception today was a smart play. He understood the route combo. That is true. Perry Ball says hopefully Jerry Jacobs can keep up playing better. Braylon Dennis says Jerry has improved, needs to stop with the penalties, however. Again, I think some of those penalties are also a little bit ticky-tacky from the refs, but I do agree the penalties do need to get down a lot more than what they were to start with. Ezra Gray says Jerry's playing pretty good. More staffs will help him get even better. Keitho says Witherspoon. Well, Devin Witherspoon would have been nice to have, but unfortunately,
that's who we were going to draft. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
probably.
I took him with pick 5, and we never got the chance.
But I'm still not going to cry about the fact of how we were able to pull off the draft trade capital that we did to get the other players. I'm cool with that. Yoop says, I became a Lions fan at 8 when Charlie Sanders took March of Dimes telethon pledge live, and she to me on the phone and sent an autographed picture. Being a Lions fan in Western Upper Peninsula was rough. LOL.
I don't doubt it.
Dale says, exactly, David, on drafting another cornerback next season. Jacobs is not consistent enough to not get another back. Well, on top of that, it's like, listen, if you take a look at where a lot of the defensive back help that Holmes went after this year it went to the freaking safety group and also to the slot corner, the nickel corner, and all those types of things. The only real cornerbacks that we picked up were Mosley and Sutton, and so far Mosley really hasn't done anything.
You guys got to realize, too, Jerry Jacobs was a UDFA. 2 years ago, wasn't even supposed to make the team.
That is true, too.
It's freaking amazing. He only makes less than $1 million a year. I mean, he's a bargain at that point.
Oh, for
Damn
sure.
right.
I'm not
3 picks for under $1 million.
I'm not crying about his value. I mean, for the value of what we got him for and the fact that he's still producing at a decent level, I'm cool with that all day long. Perry Ball says Jerry should not be covering the number 1 wide receiver. Now, that I definitely agree on. Let Cameron Sutton cover the number 1s. Marcus says, Goff or Brock Purdy? I'd take Goff. I'd take Goff, too, because Goff has the experience. Purdy doesn't. I think,
Goff's
again,
just better.
I'm just going to put it this way when it comes to the conversation of Brock Purdy. Has Brock Purdy played well? Yes, he has. But I think right now, Brock Purdy is more of a beneficiary of the fact that he's in Shanahan's offense and has a great damn defense with the Niners.
Unless and McCaffrey and Samuel.
That's true, too. Unless, for whatever reason, Purdy went and that 49ers team started to fall apart or he went to a team that was less talented, I don't think Purdy would be playing at the same level.
I was about to say, if you took him and put him with the Washington Commanders, he wouldn't be playing nowhere near at the level he's playing now. The reason he looks so good is because, like you said, he's playing with Kyle Shanahan. He's with the 49ers. That Trey Lance could have made that team look good. He just didn't have the skill.
Well, maybe Sam Howell would have still done as good a job in San Francisco, but
he probably would do a little better because he's got a better deep ball than Purdy has.
Yep.
Well, let me put it to you this way, folks. Let's put it this way. As much as I disagree with this analysis and this comparison, I'm going to use it anyway because a lot of people have used it. There have been so many people that have tried to say that Jared Goff is pretty much another version of Jimmy Garoppolo, which I think that's bullshit. But let's just think about it. Jimmy Garoppolo got the 49ers to a fucking Super Bowl and almost won. Imagine if Goff had been on that 49ers team with the roster that they currently had. Now you start getting a picture here of just why I think, one, Goff is underappreciated, but also, two, why it's like, listen, I think that Kyle Shanahan's system, just in general concepts, is a good quarterback-friendly system. It worked for Jimmy Garoppolo. Sam Darnold has looked good in it when he was playing in it for a couple of snaps, and Brock Purdy has looked good in it. So for me, it's like, listen, I think that Kyle Shanahan's system is just a quarterback-friendly system. Let's see here. Dom the Bandit says Purdy is undefeated with 0 interceptions. Again, I get your point there. But again, I'm trying to set the point that the 49ers are that good of a team that the quarterback doesn't really need to play that well. Purdy has played really good, but I don't think he has to take over games yet. That is another quality that most quarterbacks don't really do. Marcus says people are putting Brock Purdy in the MVP talk. They really shouldn't. It's way too fucking early for that. Keitho says there's a lot of good cornerbacks coming out of the next draft. Well, that's good. Be something to definitely talk about next year. Braylon Dennis says, agreed, David. Flip the roles. Goff with the 49ers, Purdy with the Lions. Goff would have at least 3 Super Bowl rings with Shanahan. I mean, he definitely have 1. I'll at least go that far. I don't know about 3. Yoop says Goff or Purdy, both are working men, but Purdy did things in Amy's I've never seen before. Well,
Ames,
fair
Iowa,
enough.
for Iowa State.
Yep. Perry Ball says Lance was a project that didn't work and was a costly project because they traded 3 first-round picks to get his ass.
Purdy
All
was
right.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, you go from a number 3 overall pick to Mr. Irrelevant, and that's the difference in production that you get. All right, we have now come to our last topic of the night. So, DC, you'll start us off, and we'll finish the way we started. So, DC, here it is. The Bucs are the Lions' next opponent, and we're at their place. The Bucs have played much better than expected, and by many people expected. And so I'm asking you this. What are some things that you think the Lions must do to get to 5-1 against the Buccaneers? What are your thoughts?
Punch them in the goddamn throat like we do everyone else. They ain't played anyone like us. Go out there and kick their ass like we have been doing.
All right, fair enough. I like simplicity and brevity. What about you, Jay? What do you think the Lions have to do to get to 5-1 against the Buccaneers?
To get to 5-1, I think the Detroit Lions have to take that offense and ram it down the Buccaneers' throat. They have to fucking keep the foot on the pedal the entire time. Once they get hot, don't let up. Just keep it hot, hot, hot.
All right, fair enough. What about you, Jeremy? What are your thoughts? What do you think the Lions need to do to get to 5-1 versus the Bucs?
Control the run game like we've been doing on defense. And we got to make sure that we're using the play action more. That team has got really good corners and really good safeties. Their front seven's nasty. Maintain what we've been doing, not letting Goff get pressured every other snap.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What about you, Wes? What do you think, or what do you think the Lions have to do to get to 5-1 versus the Bucs?
Well, I think we have to stand right up the port bow by that fucking pirate ship and spin that cannon around and let them fucking have it. Just like we do everybody else.
I like it. That's a little bit of a different answer.
Run and make your quarterback one-dimensional. Get in his face.
I agree. And that was going to be what I was going to say. If you think about it, the one thing that the Lions have to do on offense, like Jeremy said, control the ball, make sure we run it, allows us to open up passing lanes through play action, keeps Goff safe behind that offensive line. But for me, the biggest thing that the Lions defense has got to do, they have got to rattle Baker Mayfield, because we've seen it. When Baker Mayfield gets rattled and he gets scared back there, he starts getting happy feet and he starts getting to become a turnover machine. If you get to Baker Mayfield, you're going to win a game, because then Baker Mayfield starts making those costly mistakes that have been the defining moment of his entire career.
Yep.
When you rush Mayfield, get your hands in the air, because he's a short little fucker too.
Yeah, he's like, I think he's only like 6 foot even. So
I don't
he's
think
not
he's that tall. He's like 5'10". He's about the same height as Bryce Young.
Let me check, because I'm not 100% certain on that, but you might be right. Baker Mayfield. Here we go. Baker Mayfield. Actually, he's 6'1". He's actually three. He's actually 3 inches taller.
They take from college sometimes either.
And that's the thing about it, is that Baker Mayfield's actually playing really good this year. I mean, that's the funny part, is that according to ESPN, he's completing nearly 70% of his passes. 882 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 picks, 101.5 passer rating with a 70.2 QBR rating.
Who has Tampa Bay played this year?
Let me find out for you. Game log.
Minnesota.
They've played the Saints, they've played the Bears, they played the Vikings, and they played the Eagles.
Exactly. They haven't fucking played anybody except the Eagles.
And coincidentally, that was the only game they lost, was against the Eagles.
There you go.
And when you know it, against the Eagles, that was Baker Mayfield's worst game.
Yeah.
Only completed 60% of his passes, 1 touchdown to 1 interception, a 73.1 passer rating with a 30.5 QBR rating.
Yeah, he's going to look like dog shit against us.
All right. With that having been said, let's take a look at some of these comments before we end the show here. Chris Mason says that the Bucs defense is scary. It's not as scary as you'd like to think. I've taken a look at their stats, and while they do play pretty physical and aggressive, there's definitely some holes in it. 313 Kurt says, I'm not scared of Baker, bro. Perry Ball says the Lions just need to play the game and play hard. Braylon Dennis says when pressured, Baker is fucking horrid. Yoop says, LOL, Purdy to Kittle again on a flea flicker. NFL's doing a lot of flea flickers this year. 313 Kurt says Dallas is settling. Yoop says it was the same flea that we ran. LW Tennis says chances St. Brown returns this week. I'd say about 100%. He probably could have played this week. I was about to say, chances are,
this week.
Yeah, chances are he could have played, but again, they're being conservative and wanted to make sure he was healthy for next week. So I'm pretty confident he plays.
Why risk getting him hurt works?
Exactly. Same thing with Brian Branch. John Turner says run the ball the way we have and make them scared of that deep ball. Ezra Gray says San Francisco just scored on the very same trick play the Lions used today. But Keitho says our flea flicker was better. Dan DeNuts says San Francisco. Everyone keeps referring to that play. Ezra Gray says pressure Mayfield and he will give you a gift. That is definitely the truth.
Yeah, right.
Vogs 18 says great show, gentlemen. Keitho says I think we're going to have a harder game against the Ravens than the Buccaneers. We'll see. Dale says not worried about the Bucs, to be honest. Mayfield is not that good of a QB to be serious. They're not a huge threat, but still have to come in and play our game. That's absolutely the truth. Marcus says hopefully Mike Evans is out. He was out earlier this week, so we'll see what happens. LDB Tennis says that the Ravens only scored 10 points today. Don't remind DC of that. He's still pissed about it.
Fucking Steelers. Hate Pittsburgh.
Did they put Evans on IR or not? I'm not sure.
I think he's still listed as questionable. I don't know if they've placed him on IR just yet. Let me check it out really quickly here before we end this. Because I have Mike Evans actually on my fantasy football team. So he's listed as questionable. It was a bye week for the Buccaneers. So what was his injury, though? It's a hamstring tweak, which for wide receivers, hamstrings are notoriously bad. So he might still be out even after a week off, but we'll see. And then Braylon Dennis says, sack the shit out of Baker. I mean, I'll tell you this right now. You pressure Baker, he's going to fold like an accordion. But, all right, we have reached the end of our show. Looks like Jeremy's got something he wants to say really quickly.
Jennifer Hammond of Fox 2 Sports just released the Lions have allowed 342 yards rushing through 5 games. It's the fewest rushing yards allowed in the same span since 1939.
Love it.
39. That's almost the entire length of how long the Lions have been an actual football team.
Yep.
Because the Lions officially became a team in 34. But all right, great tidbit there, Jeremy. Great tidbit. So, as always,
there's one more that she has for us. The only times that the Lions have produced 350 total net yards in each of the 5 first games of the season. Number 1 this year. The last time was 1954.
Ha!
We won the championship year that year, didn't we?
Yes.
Yep. And again in 56.
And that was the last. No, 57 was the last time we won, wasn't it?
Yeah. 57 was the last one. And both times, who'd we beat? The Browns.
And the Browns were considered the best team in football back then.
Well, they were very good, yeah.
So Lions definitely got something cooking. But as always, thank you all for tuning into the show. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you all for your humor, especially for Taylor Swift. And with that having been said, Jeremy, take us away so that way we can end the show the same way we always start it.
Try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts within here, unless you're talking about Taylor Swift.
And it starts somewhere else. As always, y'all, enjoy the fact that the Lions are now 4-1. Big victory over the Carolina Panthers. Have yourselves a great weekend. I'm going to enjoy another day off tomorrow because I got myself a 4-day weekend this weekend. Nice. So with that, one pride, go Lions, and let's get ready for the Bucks. What do you got, Jeremy?
I forgot. In an hour, in 2 hours and 38 minutes, I will be 53 years old.
Happy birthday.
You're a spring chicken.
Yep.
All right, y'all. You guys have a good night.